Like always, appreciate you guys coming to cover Penn State football. Obviously, the first thing is appreciate the contributions that Coach Yursich made here. Obviously, we made a tough decision that we feel like was in the best interest of the program moving forward. I know there's going to be some questions, and I'll answer some questions, but obviously would like to spend as much time talking about our opponent this week as possible. A couple other things, kind of when you review the Michigan game, turnover battle, we lost. Explosive play battle, we lost. The third down battle, we lost. Sack, we won. Drive start battle, we lost. And then the penalties, we won. Sack battle, it was essentially a tie, but from a yardage standpoint, we won. Getting into our opponent with Rutgers and Coach Schiano, obviously got a ton of respect for him and what he's done throughout his career, and specifically at Rutgers. His background as a defensive guy, in the NFL as well as in college, they do a really good job, and he's done it that way for a long time. If you look at the hire that they made with hiring Kirk Ciarrocca, obviously we have familiarity with Kirk. Got a ton of respect for him. I think it's been a really good hire for them, and the complementary style of football that they want to play. Obviously, Greg's very involved with special teams. Essentially, has always run the special teams. The way they play defense, and Kirk's been a really good hire. Kirk's on that staff. Dave Brock, who's also a good friend of mine. Dave was my receivers coach at K-State. Really good ball coaches, that both had been at Rutgers before, and are doing a good job for them. Guys that we're impressed with is their running back, Kyle Monangai, I hope I said that right. Young man from New Jersey, physical back, powerful back, is doing a really nice job in their system. And then their tight end, Johnny Langan, who seems like he's been playing there forever, does a lot of different things for him and does it well. Defensively, Coach Harris-Samayak has done a really good job. It's year 2 for him, and their numbers have dramatically increased, really kind of across the board. Playing really good defense. They make you earn everything. They do a great job of limiting explosive plays, both in the run and pass. Their numbers are a little bit better in the pass, but really in both areas they're playing well. We've been impressed with number 17, Deion Jennings. Cornerback, number 16, Max Melton. It's kind of a legendary family there at Rutgers. And we think he's playing really well, and you can tell they've changed some things defensively based on the confidence that they have in their corners, including number 7, Robert Longerbeam. And then their defensive end, Aaron Lewis, who we recruited, went to Michigan, ended up transferring back to Rutgers, who's from New Jersey. Defensive ends playing well for him. And then their linebacker, number 1, Mohamed Toure. Toure's another one of those kind of legendary families in New Jersey. Special teams kind of already talked about, and Coach Schiano, that they got a tremendous history there on the special teams, and specifically blocking kicks. Kick returner number 8, Rashad Rochelle, and then their punter, number 95, Flynn Appleby's, doing a really good job, and they've done a great job of recruiting and developing punters as well. So that's kind of my preliminary summary of Rutgers. Open up to questions.
Let's go to Rich Garcella and then Mike Gross. You're on deck.
Good afternoon, James. How are you?
Good, Rich. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. James, in response to my question Saturday about Drew, you said that there weren't enough easy passes being called to get him into a rhythm. So as the head coach, do you ask for more easy passes, get more on Saturday? And if you didn't, why didn't you ask for more easy passes called?
Yeah. As you can imagine, I have conversations about all the things that I have concerns about, and more so than I speak in the press conferences. And I think you guys have heard me come in and talk, whether it's openers, whether it's third down, whether it's starting fast. All those things are things that we've had lengthy discussions about and had a plan for. But a lot of times when we got to the games, either we did not call the games that way, or we did not execute the games the way we intended them to. So, yeah, those things were asked for.
Let's go to Mike Gross and then Neo Riddell.
Good afternoon, James. How are you?
Good. How are you, Mike?
Good, thanks. Just want to ask about the mechanics of of how you're going to do play calling and game planning on offense now. Will Ty and Juwan, will they be upstairs or on the sidelines? And what will your role in play calling and or game planning increase, decrease, stay the same?
Yeah, so a couple things. I think the first thing is both J1 and Ty already had the titles, so that made sense. They both had the co-coordinator titles. So those two guys will be handling the game planning as well as the offensive staff. And that's really literally what I just walked out of with those guys. And they're doing a really good job right now. I've been pleased. I think we're a little bit more collaborative right now than what we've been here recently. And I think it's been good. It's been good. So I literally just walked out of there. When I get done from here, I'll go back in there. And I would say that my presence is similar to what it's been in the past over my 13 years as a head coach. In terms of play calling, we're going to work that kind of out throughout this week and on game day, but they'll both have a role in play calling.
Let's go to Neo Riddell and then Donnie Collins.
Hey, James. I'm wondering, was this your decision, and was Pat Kraft involved?
Yeah, this was my decision. But obviously, I don't do anything in a silo. I run things up the ladder and have conversations. But this was my decision.
Let's go to Donnie Collins and then Johnny McGonigal.
How you doing, James?
Good. How are you, Donnie?
Doing well. Who do you hope steps up into the role that Mike had coaching the quarterbacks, and how do you hope Drew and Bo respond to the decision and the move here?
Yeah, as you can imagine, Danny's been very involved. I missed a part of the question, the previous question. I apologize, Donnie. Yeah, so the upstairs and sideline will stay the same. Ty will be upstairs. J1 will be on the sideline. That won't change. To your question, Danny is involved with the quarterbacks. I'm going to make sure that I'm in every single one of the quarterback meetings with Danny. And then we're also, it allows us to get somebody else on the headsets as well in terms of bumping somebody up into that full-time role or headset role or whatever it may be, another voice. So we're still kind of working through that. We'll probably make that decision today. But in terms of the quarterbacks, Danny O'Brien and myself.
Let's go to Johnny McGonigal and then Mark Wogenrich.
Good afternoon, James. How are you?
Good, Johnny. How are you?
Good. James, we know that Drew built a close relationship with Mike, starting when he was a recruit. How did he take the news, and how involved, if at all, will he be in an upcoming OC search?
Well, I guess the first thing is these are tough decisions, right? And what makes it even tougher is it's hard to keep things quiet. I think we did a pretty good job of it, but it's hard to keep things quiet. And not because we're trying to hide information from you guys, but I'm just trying to be respectful of the process. I'm trying to be respectful of Mike and his family. I'm trying to be respectful of our quarterbacks. I'm trying to be respectful of the team. Then I want to call all of the quarterbacks' families so they're hearing it from me and explain kind of how we got here. Same thing in recruiting. So there's just a lot of moving parts that you're trying to keep as quiet as you possibly can so people are hearing it from you, not reading it on social media. But with Rhule, I met with all of the quarterbacks first. They were the first to know. Met with them before the team meeting. Then I addressed it with the team. Then the plan was for them to call their parents after practice and let them know. And then after practice, I was going to call them and talk through any questions or concerns that they had. And that plan went according to plan, except for while we were at practice, it leaked out, and then the parents found out before I was able to get to them. But besides that, the players heard, the quarterbacks heard from me, the players heard from me. It's something that we don't take lightly. These are tough decisions that have to be made. They affect a lot of people. I want to be super respectful of that, but I also have a responsibility to everybody in that locker room and everybody in the Lash building and fans and everybody else, graduates, alumni, lettermen. So the quarterbacks, I think the discussion was good. Met with them before practice, like I mentioned. Then I met with them right after practice ended to see if that had any more questions or concerns. And again, tough conversations, tough decisions, but I think handled as well as you can under tough circumstances. In terms of being involved in the hiring process, no, but in terms of are they a part of that decision? Yes. In terms of who I'm bringing in, why I'm bringing them in, do they fit the person that I'm bringing in, the person I'm bringing in, do they fit with them? Does everybody understand what they're signing up for? All those things, yes. And then just like this decision, I'd also like them to be the first to know. So as hard as you guys will be trying to get the information, I'll be trying to keep the information quiet. Again, not because I don't want you guys to have the information, but I'd like for my quarterbacks and my team to hear it first rather than it being on social media. I'm just trying to be as respectful of the process of everybody as possible. And then on top of that, and I've been through this myself, sometimes the names getting out there hurts in your chances of actually hiring them, even with head coach positions. A lot of times if it's out there and it's public, there's guys that end up turning the jobs down because they can't afford for the process to play out. It's going to cause too many problems where they are to cause issues. So that's the other reason why you try to keep it quiet as much as you possibly can. So as many of these possibilities stay on the table as long as possible.
Let's go to Mark Wogenrich and then Frank Bodani.
Hi, James. In the past, you've referenced hearing the Fire Franklin comments during that 2016 Minnesota game. What did you hear leaving the Beaver Stadium, the field Saturday, and what kind of impact did it have?
Yeah, I think when I talked about in the past in 2016, as you guys know, we came here at a tough time and a challenging time. I mean, I think that was like literally our first year off of the sanctions and back to full scholarships. So that was a different time. I'm much more, is the word, calloused at this stage of my career, thicker skin between you guys and my wife, that I don't really get into those types of things. I control the things that I can control, and not those other things.
Let's go to Frank Bodani and then Corey Geiger.
Hey, good afternoon, James. Thanks for your time.
You as well.
Going off Mark's question, there's a purpose behind, I guess, people's emotions. How do you reassure fans that things are going to get better the way that they expect them to? And maybe a second part is when you're making this change, what exactly are you looking for in your new OC that maybe you did not have at this present time?
Yeah, so at the end of the day, we need to play well, and we need to play well against our toughest opponents. That's the reality of it. We embrace that. That's why you come to a place like Penn State as a coach. That's why you come to a place like Penn State as a player, and we understand what comes with that. The positives and the challenges. You embrace it, or you don't come to a place like Penn State. In terms of what I'm looking for on offense is, again, back to that point. Somebody that's going to put us in the best position to play our best football when it's needed most and against the best competition.
Our last question from Zoom is Corey Geiger.
Hi, James.
Hey, Corey.
If I were to suggest that a large portion of these problems stem from your wide receiver situation, that your situation at wide receiver just isn't good enough, and that creates lots of other problems on offense. Am I off base there? Is that mostly correct, partly correct, completely incorrect?
Yeah, I think, we've talked about in the offseason, the development of that position, the depth at that position, trying to find a number 3 before we ended up losing Trey, then lose Trey, and now it's back to kind of figuring out who the number 2 is. There's a little bit that kind of goes around to a lot of different groups, but yeah, we've talked about that position and the importance of the development, the importance of the recruitment, the importance of the playmaking on a consistent basis. But no, I would not describe it the way you just described it.
Please raise your hand, and we'll take a mic to you. We'll start with Mark on the right.
Hey, James. Thanks for your time.
Hey, Mark.
Could you explain the timing of this decision? Because you've made changes in the past, but I think generally they were after the season. And from your perspective as a head coach, how difficult is it to have to make these sorts of decisions, especially during a season?
Yeah, very difficult. Very difficult from a personal perspective, very difficult from a professional perspective. And then in terms of the timing, I just think, for most people and most situations, if you've gotten to the point where you feel like that's what you're going to do, I'm not great at faking it. I want to be as transparent and as upfront as I possibly can be. So when you get to the point where you feel like that's the right decision, then I think you make it. And I also, part of that also is the belief of the rest of the staff and the guys, in the Lash building and in the locker room. But when you feel like that's the decision, in my opinion, you don't delay the decision as long as you feel like you have some internal options that can do it. Did that answer your question? Yeah.
Audrey?
James,
Hey, Audrey.
how you doing?
Good.
This will be your 6th offensive coordinator hire here. Obviously, 2 guys left for head coaching jobs. The others did not. Why do you feel like you guys have been continuously searching for answers there?
Again, I wouldn't necessarily describe it the way you did. Again, I think if you look at the nature of college football, there's a ton of turnover. Why? Some for positive reasons. You mentioned 2 for head coaching opportunities, which is awesome, which is what you want. In terms of the other end of the spectrum, this is a place that's got very, very high expectations and standards, and we have to make sure that each area, whether it's strength and conditioning, whether it's academics, whether it's offense, defense, special teams, for us to go where we want to go and play at the very, very highest level, we need each one of those units producing on a very, very high level consistently for us to go where we want to go. And if they are, guys get opportunities to move elsewhere for head coaching opportunities. And if they aren't, then decisions need to be made. So for one reason or another, you're going to have turnover in college football.
Over here on the left, Allie.
Hey, Allie.
Hey, Coach, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Ty and J1 are both widely regarded as two of your best recruiters, great culture guys, good fit in the program, a lot of respect from people around your staff. What do you think they bring as a collective unit, and why should they be the pair of them be some people that people have faith in going forward?
Well, I think it's what you just mentioned, right? At the end of the day, good people that are widely respected, that are fiercely loyal, and also Penn State is very important to both of them. I mean, J1's been here now 6 years. Ty is obviously a letterman and a grad. Ty's also called plays before. J1 played quarterback, not only in college but also in the NFL. Has that background as well. Both have recruited and developed positions that are two of our better positions. So really kind of all those things. I know what I'm going to get from them. I know how collaborative they're going to be with our staff. And I also think they're widely respected by the players. And I think that's an important part of this as well. So, again, I think they're working really good. We started early this morning, and I literally just walked out of there to come over here. And I'll go back in there, but those guys are doing a good job. And I think Rutgers is really good on defense, but I think we'll have a good plan that will put our guys in the best position to be successful.
In the middle, John.
Hey, James, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing good. Obviously, you guys have a regular season to play out, but what is the timeline you're looking at for making the offensive coordinator hire, and what are the important factors in that timeline?
Yeah, so sooner rather than later, right? But it's hard. Hiring someone is like a full-time job. So can't really have two full-time jobs right now. So the most important thing is for us to play well this week and finish the season the right way. And then during that process, be working through kind of narrowing down a list. I already have a list. It's narrowing it down. It's running all the numbers. It's seeing if people are interested, and then trying to find a way to get that turned over as soon as we possibly can through maybe some Zoom calls, some in-person interviews. And then in a perfect world, I think you'd like, if you could, to have a situation like we did with Manny, where we hired him, had him here for the bowl game. I think we've done that at other times as well. So now they're here, they're around the guys, they see how we operate, they see how we meet, they get a feel for the culture, they're able to watch and evaluate the players and say, okay, here's areas where we're strong, here's areas where we need to maybe find some solutions. I think there's value in doing that if possible, but that's not always the case. With Manny, it just worked out where he was available and could be hired and was willing to come, and some people are still in positions that they need to finish out their seasons. So we'll see. It depends on which direction we go, who we hire, and kind of where they're at in their careers. Is it an NFL guy? Is it a college guy? Is it a guy who's currently going to be in a bowl game, or is it a guy who's out?
Over here on the left, Jared.
Hey, Coach Franklin.
Hey, Jared.
On Saturday, I think, and you answered a little bit of this earlier, but from the fans, obviously they were booing, throwing objects, and it looked almost like they'd lost their hope. What can you say to them now that can kind of give them hope for the future, and how important is that to the team that the fans are hopeful?
Yeah, I think, me saying something here is one thing. At the end of the day, it's about actions, and it's about production. It's about playing well. We have lost to two of the best teams in college football who also happen to be in the same side of our conference. We understand that. We recognize that. So I get it. So me sitting here saying things is fine, but I think at the end of the day, it's about actions. I also believe we're better positioned now, like I've talked to you guys about before, than ever before, based on the alignment that I think we have for the first time. I think I said that to you guys this summer, and I think that is probably the reason I'm as hopeful and as excited as I've ever been. And I've also stated that before. But it's not like these people get in these positions and 6 months later snap their fingers and things are fixed or moving. It takes time. It takes time, and I think we're in a position to do that.
In the middle, Mike.
Hi, James.
Hey, Mike.
The last 4 years, you're 1-7 against those big two. I asked Rhule this, and everyone told me to ask you. How do you close that gap, and how much is that related to your decision with Mike?
Yeah, that was a big part of that decision. At some point during this press conference, I'd love to give just a few questions about Rutgers, but I'll finish this question. Yeah, that was a big part of that decision. And it's everything. It's kind of what I just talked about. Every unit needs to be operating at the very highest level. That is recruiting, that is development, that is offense, that is defense, that is special teams. And we've had times where we've done that, but we've also had times where we've been really strong in certain areas and not strong enough in others. So that's how you do it, and that was a part of that decision. Yes.
In the back, T. Frank.
Hey, James.
Hey, T.
Rutgers? What's that?
Rutgers?
I'll tailor the question for you to include Rutgers.
Okay.
You mentioned earlier that you feel good about the plan you're developing for Rutgers. And, for offense and defense, there's creating the plan, then there's executing the plan. So do you feel that the creation of the plan and the implementation both needed to change? And do you think going forward you'll have a better plan of attack, literally, from your offense?
Yes. Yes, I felt like both of those things needed to change. How we came up with the plan, the implementation of the plan, all those things, for sure. The execution of the plan. Obviously, you don't make the type of decision I made without feeling that way.
We got time for two more questions.
So I'm not going to make any comments about where things stand with the ongoing circumstances because we have a hearing on Friday. The support of President Ono, the Board of Regents, Ward Manuel is greatly appreciated, as is the tremendous support of our alumni fan base towards our incredible football team. There is already so much to be thankful for. Who's got it better than us, is what we like to say. Nobody. Very proud of our players. Sharon, Coach Herb, the entire staff, the way that they handled the situation with flying colors, man. Players that just played their hearts out. It's a team full of leaders, a team that's connected, committed, and as we've talked about many times, plays for each other, very unselfish. And finally, the whole world is seeing what I get to see every single day. Players that play their hearts out. They're talented, resilient, great guys, and they play their hearts out together. Undefeated this season, 10-0. They've won 26 regular season games. 10 straight road wins, best in program history since 1945 and 1948. And no one cares who gets the credit, and they're always happy for the other guy's success. Did a great job blocking out the noise, both outside the stadium and inside. Means so much, the incredible things that our team has accomplished, giving it their very best, competing, enjoying, and triumphant. And the things that they all said, personally, Coach Moore, the players said, and my daughter Grace, what she wrote, just so special. I'm going to remember that until the day they throw dirt over top of me. And the program, sitting at 999 wins, chance for 1,000 this Saturday. It's in our wildest dreams. That's what we hoped for. That's what we worked for, was that we'd have a chance to play in our 11th game this season, a chance to get that 1,000. And just really want to shout out the Green Bay Packers, most wins in NFL history, 793, the most wins in high school football. Valdosta, Georgia, 951. And the Michigan Wolverines, 999. No one has won more. Nobody. And I want to thank especially everyone who has put on the winged helmet, all those that have contributed and those that have supported their efforts and the current support. As I mentioned before, it's monumental. It motivates us to find extra work to do, keep a one-track mind, and get keener, finer, and more alert. Get the job done. Very proud of our football team.
We're going to start on the left with Chris.
You talk about your reaction when you saw Kenneth Grant run down a running back, and then with Rayshon Benny's two big plays.
Kenneth Grant running down a running back in that game. I was up off my feet. It was one of the best plays of the season. That play by Kenneth Grant. Maybe one of the best plays ever. Compared to play Justin Smith made against the Eagles, my first year coaching at the 49ers. It was a guardian of victory type of play. Kenneth was dominant in the game. He was the real tone setter, right from the first series. He's playing great, only a sophomore, tremendous. Rayshon Benny played like 14 snaps in the game, but had a great effect on the game. Tackle for a loss, big, and the caused fumble that Makari Page jumped on. It was a great job by our football team. We capitalized on their mistakes, jumped on them, and then really there's another game where we don't turn the ball over. I don't know what our record is now since 2015, but we don't turn the ball over. It's undefeated, and it's probably close to 50-0 when we don't turn the ball over. So great job, and there's so many opportunities, but just holding on to the ball. Blake Corum, incredible game. Jake Thaw, there were some punts. He made every right decision back there as a punt returner. Returned some, fair caught some, but over the shoulder, I was really happy with the way the guys were so locked in and took care of the football like, guardians of victory that they are.
On the left there, Tony.
Yeah, Jim, you've already talked about enthusiasm unknown to mankind. I wonder, and your team this week talked about this galvanizing them, bringing them together. I wonder, can you tell us just sort of how you feel? Have you ever felt this enthusiastic, or what are your emotions?
Just really proud. I know I said it. First team meeting, and I know I talked about it here. Moses had 90 leaders. How many do we need? Answer was, we need more than 90, and we've got that. We've we've got a team full of leaders, future leaders, that have already been galvanized. I mean, they're really already on a mission. The mission last year was a happy mission. You know, this year has been even more than the wins. You know, it's a mission of faith. It's a mission of speaking truth to power. It's a mission of playing for each other as a band of brothers. It's a mission, and I see our guys, and they're strong. They're walking upright and innocent, and just taking care of business. The one-track mind. I'm so thankful for that our team has been. That's resonated so much. Just wake up, take care of business, go to sleep, wake up the next day, take care of business again.
On the left, Rod.
Yeah, Coach, can you talk a little bit about specifically where you watched the game, your reactions during the game? It sounds like you're raspy, but the next question is your level of frustration with not being able to be on the sideline.
Yeah, I don't know what I have, some kind of virus or something. Trainer told me, but I'm not sick. Feel great. Got a tremendous workout in today. Thank you, Coach Sean Lockwood, for that. I'm the iron wall that viruses bash against and shatter. But yeah, something's going on there. But just work it out, get it worked out, work it out of the system. Do some more push-ups. Eat an apple.
Connor?
Jim, if you're not able to coach the next 2 games, do you have a plan as to who's going to be the acting head coach?
Sherrone Moore. Yeah, that's, as I said, I mean, it's got a lot of leaders. Some people scoff at some of the things I said. I think I said it way back in April. I mean, I had 10 coaches that'll be future head coaches. I think I made the statement. I think 4 would be head coaches after this year, and Sherrone is, he's the best of the best. His toughness, mental toughness, physical toughness, and there's nobody that doubts, Sherrone Moore and his dedication, his connection, his commitment to the team. So that's my pick.
Larry, can you share what your range of emotions were Saturday?
I mean, the kind of game that, just put up there with all the games, the top ones. I mean, every single win, it's like one of your own children. I mean, you love them all, but boy, I guess there's some that just so proud of, and that's one of the top 5 at least. Felt so good about that. Just and watching it from where I was watching, I was like, how can you not see this? These players. I mean, Blake Corum with the nose bloodied, and the emotion of the team, the perseverance, and then just the stalwartness of these guys. I mean, yeah, watching, I would have to say, I mean, everybody. It's got to be America's team. It's got to be America's team. America loves a team that beats the odds, beats the adversity, overcomes what the naysayers and critics, so-called experts think. That's my favorite kind of team. And yeah, watching it from that view on the television, it was finally people get to see what I see every day, in these players and these coaches.
Back right, Ed. Jim, decision aside, what did you think about being informed by the Big Ten on Friday afternoon?
I'm going to talk on Friday. Just looking for for that opportunity, due process. Not looking for special treatment, not looking for a popularity contest, just looking for the merit of what the case is. I senior in high school, I had a civics class, and talked about government, justice, and what I took away from that class was that you're innocent until proven guilty. That was 40 years ago, but like that opportunity.
Back right, Reiner.
Yeah, Jim, as you and the school and the Big Ten go back and forth here, are you worried about the long-term impact this will have on Michigan's relationship with the conference?
I'm going to save all my comments for the actual in court. Like I said, I'm not going to talk much about the what's going on, and have an opportunity on Friday to do that.
Ryan.
Jim, what does it say about your guys' defense on Saturday that Penn State fired its offensive coordinator basically right after the game?
I don't know about that. Not something that fellow coach, not something we take any kind of pleasure in. But our team, you saw a galvanized team that took the field, blocked out noise outside the stadium, inside the stadium, and played for each other, and played a great game, and decisive game, both offensively, defensively, and on special teams, and just showed their mettle. Stuff I knew they were stalwarts, but they've been questioned, that this, that, or the other thing, or they hadn't played anybody, and to watch them go do it. So proud of every leader, so proud of the way they prepared, and so proud of the way they played.
Charlie?
Jim, a few weeks ago you mentioned you had all these plans should you get to 1,000 wins. Have you finalized any of those plans? And if you are unable to be on the sidelines, is that going to be a point of frustration for you not being there for the 1,000th win?
Yeah, I think you don't really get me too much. I don't think anybody really does, but whatever the emotion is, whether it's name an emotion, frustration, anger, happiness, whatever it is, I just go find work to do. I just go to work. That's I find something extra to do, and when I do that, then I find that it clears my mind, cleanses my soul, and a lot of times, the perfect thing comes to you, what to do, how to do it. Not every time, but a lot of the time. And then when you're done, you've accomplished something. You got something done. You maybe made money, saved money, and avoid some making the problem worse. So, yeah, dress, work, and keep on rolling. I always use the analogy with others to try to put it in a frame of references. There's Sarah doesn't like when I talk about her. She does not like this, so I apologize to Sarah before I say this, but now she'll get mad at me and get after me. Sometimes I get angry, and I got two options. I can come back and fire back, and I'll show her who's boss, or I can turn right around, go out, feed the chickens, clean out the coop, cut the lawn, edge it, work for hours till that it always is the better resolution, and it's just how I treat things, since I was real young, And it's been productive, been highly, highly productive, the things that get accomplished from that work.
Do you really have chickens, or is that just an analogy?
I do have chickens. I have chickens. Yeah, we have chickens. That was COVID year, 2020. Yeah, Easter. Went to the Tractor Supply, and that's before I think they even shut things down. But went to Tractor Supply, got the chickens, brought them home for Easter, and just little chicks, your kids, and they loved them. They loved those chickens for about a week. The chicks, and then the chicks became teenager chickens, and then became adult chickens, all hens, egg layers. Yeah, I'm the one who takes care of them, and the respect that I have for chickens. I know there was a time when I said that chicken is a nervous bird, and I don't eat chicken, I only eat meat, but I was dead wrong. I stand corrected. These chickens are low maintenance and high production. I mean, they lay an egg every 26, 27 hours, and they need water, they need food, and then I play with them too. I let them out in the yard, and we run around, and they're happy to see me. They're happy to see me. There's times when I'm doing good things for other people, and they're not as happy to see me as my chickens are. So it's good. It's good for my mental health as well, and get fresh eggs every day.
On the left, John.
Highly productive. Highly productive.
You mentioned Blake bloodied up in the face afterwards. He said he was always taught that you respond to adversity by keep fighting, keep punching. Is that the message to this team at this point, to keep proving it's good, it's winning because it's just a good team?
Yeah, all those things. It's the connectivity of the team. It's the commitment from the guys. This goes back to every winter workout cycle when the guys are lifting the weights and running the wind sprints, and moves into spring practice, and then the summer cycle. Our guys are so connected and committed, pushing each other. Then we get into training camp, teams forged, really forged there, and captains are picked, and then we go play the game. But that connection, that commitment is already been forged, and even before that, it's what they've seen older players do, that they were trying to watch and emulate, and then try to go make them proud. And even before that, it's what their parents instilled into them, poured into them, the discipline, the work ethic. You could bet James Corum poured that into Blake Corum when Blake was out working in the yard and tending to some of their animals. And no coincidence, he's up what time the great ones get up. He's up around 4:35 in the morning, and he's working by 6. Still doing that to this day. So all those things, it's just all part of the stew.
Got time for about 4 more questions. We got Dan, Austin, John, and then Angelique. So Dan.
Jim, just wanted to clarify, when you say speak on Friday, you're going to speak at the hearing and state your case in front of the judge? Is that what you mean?
I don't know exactly. How it's going to go. I'm going to be able to go, though. I don't know if I'm going to be. That's not my dance floor. I'm not I'm not an attorney. Always wanted to be. Watched a lot of shows. Watched Judge Judy. A lot. But always kind of felt like it'd be cool to get up there and thunder away at a jury like Tom Cruise and A Few Good Men. Or be a judge, like Judge Judy, but alas, I did not go to law school. So this will be the first time I've ever really been in this situation. So was a court reporter for KB one time, But yeah, first time being kind of in there and out, right there instead of just watching.
How do you balance preparing for that and getting the team ready for Saturday?
Oh, it'd be a one-track mind. Getting ready for Saturday, getting ready for the game, coaching the team, getting them prepared up. So I didn't get any thought about, I guess we'll let the judge decide,
Austin?
Jim, you were talking about emotions earlier. Sharon was obviously emotional after the game. Did you see that live as post-game interview?
Yeah.
What was your reaction?
I was like 5 inches from the TV to watch that. I mean, it was beautiful, I'll remember that too. I mean, and I said I'll remember Grace's letter till they throw dirt over top of me, but I'll remember what Sharon said too, and Blake and all the players. And I already know. It's like you already know. I know how he feels. I know how the players feel. They know how I feel. But yeah, it meant a lot. Means a lot. Much appreciated.
On the right, John?
Jim, you touched upon this a little bit earlier, but when you see the ball get run again and again and again 30 straight times, what's your reaction to that when it's kind of a callback to football of days past?
Yeah, I think it was necessary. I mean, really in our wins against Penn State, whether it was in 21, when Hassan Haskins carried the load. Last year we rushed for over 400 yards, and then this year 230 and some change. Just what we felt necessary, offsets what Penn State really wants to do defensively, and makes them play not the kind of game they really desire to play. What's best for us?
Last question in the back, Angelique.
Jim, I just wanted to clarify, how were you informed on Friday about the decision?
Just somebody showed me their phone.
So via social media, or the Big Ten contacted you?
Via social media, via social media.
Did you expect to hear from the Big Ten, though? I mean, did that catch you off guard that you're reading about it on social media?
Ward was pretty upset. He was on the plane too, and he was pretty upset that he heard it through social media and not through the office, Big Ten office.
What did you think of Ward's statement that came out on Saturday?
Oh, tremendous support. Ward has been, 10 toes down. He's standing right here with us. His support, the president, Ono's support, the Board of Regents, and I said our fan bases, our team is already galvanized. I mean, they're already connected. They're together. But, boy, I'm feeling a galvanized Michigan, university, alumni network, and all the alums, largest living alumni body in the world for any school, and the fan base, which goes coast to coast and worldwide, really being galvanized. And that's a tremendous thing. That's a monumental thing when you think about it. Everybody fighting like the team we're supposed to be, man, that's gonna be tough to beat.
Who showed you the screen?
Well, we've moved on, and obviously not everybody has, so we'll answer some questions on whatever that is that we need to answer. But it's tough to continue to dwell upon those things. You got to learn from them, but you got to move forward. And so the challenge has been, for our guys in particular, is how do we move forward and how do we move on? And can you we don't have the old Men in Black little thing that we kind of zap and everybody could forget about it and continue to move forward. So it's a real challenge for your mind and the things that you allow to creep in, because that ultimately will continue to hold us back. So again, we went out a little bit lighter on Sunday and moved around and got them in and got them out of here as you would normally do in the last couple of weeks of the season. But the bodies aren't exactly what I worry about, it's the minds. And so everything that we do is trying to make sure we can open it up, get guys to communicate, but find ways to control not just your mind, the things that you take into your mind, that self-talk that you have, because there's an opportunity in front of us that we sometimes cannot see, but we need to take advantage of. And so there's a challenge in front of us as a team, as a coaching staff, as an entire program, and now we got to meet the challenge.
When you came into this program, you said that the culture was pretty well set here, and you felt good about it. When you question things about like buy-in, things like that, do you worry about that?
I didn't say anything about buy-in.
Well, some of the players were saying that.
So maybe the players do, and just so you guys know, I would imagine that the players will speak a lot more freely. And I don't mean that I don't want to say them, but like there's things that you talk about within your family that you don't talk about outside your family. And, you know, I remind those guys that, look, I will never call you out in the media. I'll never call you out in the public, but I sure as hell will call you out in front of our family. And so there are things that, you know, we have to be accountable for. And, but in the big picture of it, I'm responsible. And so I put it on my shoulders to make sure that we all are on the same page. And so, you know, it's the nature of the things that you learn when you go through real adverse situations. And you can think you know what you're looking at, you know, in an off season, in the spring and in the summer, and but nobody can prepare themselves for the real, you know, the real adverse situations. And so all of us are figuring out how we handle things together, whether we're the coaching staff or the players.
Luke, I wanted to ask you about Marty Stry, since it's going to be senior day this week. He's a co-captain, doesn't necessarily play a ton on defense, but what have you seen from him in terms of leadership and work ethic throughout this first
Marty
year?
just does a great job. I mean, there's nobody more positive and more upbeat than Marty. You know, Marty was somebody I didn't know, you know, and I got to know him a little bit, you know, through the, you know, maybe not as much in the spring because, you know, he didn't play a ton, but, you know, you had him on a bunch of special teams, and then you get to know him a little bit more, you know, in the fall, or I mean in the summer, and then all of a sudden, you know, you kind of go to vote for captains, and you see the respect that he has amongst his entire team, and so, not that all of a sudden changed my opinion of Marty, but it, you know, through the season, it's given me an opportunity to, you know, understand, know him a little bit better, and see his consistency that he has been for us, not just as a player, because, you know, he only has a certain role, which is important, but his consistency as a leader, his consistency as a guy that's an example and a motivator.
Luke, at Cincinnati in your first year, you guys went through adversity going 4-8. Here in your first year, there's also been some adversity. Which experience do you think has been tougher adversity-wise, and also how are you guys able to kind of turn it around so quickly in your second year, going 11-2?
Well, everything is its own entity, and I would tell you that this is much more difficult. And not because I think I know more, because in year one I had, you know, not a great clue as to what was going on. But I think every place you go to, things are new and different. But I don't know, maybe it's the expectations that we walked into. Maybe it's what I truly had envisioned, you know, the things I thought we could be as we grew. You know, and then obviously there's some situations that have, you know, caused us, you know, injuries and things like that to put us in a little bit of a different mode. But in general, I think it just, you know, I have an expectation for myself and the things that we do that were far greater now than they were 7 years ago. And so this is and continues to be and is a hell of a lot more challenging.
The strength of Nebraska's team has been their defense, and I'm just curious, what have you seen from that unit? What kind of stands out to you about them on that side of the ball?
Well, they've settled in a little bit more to, you know, what they are. I think early in the year they were still bouncing around defensively as to what they were going to be, whether it's some 3 down, some 4 down and stuff, but you've seen the consistency, you've seen them grow, you've seen them, you know, play physical and fast. I think that's the thing that you can, you know, watch from game 1 to, you know, game 10 is there's a growth, there's a physicality that you saw from the get-go, but there's a lot more, I don't want to say structure, but there's a lot more consistency in everything that they've done defensively, I think, in the last 4 to 5 weeks in particular.
Luke, is building a culture in the world of NIL and transfer portal more difficult? Because you've now done it both. Do you find this more challenging?
This is, you know, obviously I don't know NIL's only been around for a couple years. The transfer portal's only been around for a couple years as well. I mean, we're getting into the eras where you're seeing how these things affect, your programs and your teams and your environments, not to mention your culture. I don't know that it's any more difficult. It's just, I think, a little bit trickier, is do you look for a quick fix? Do you look for the things that you believe are sustainable and last? And, you can get, misled, or you can get misguided, or you can get antsy, trying to do it a way that you might not think is the best way possible. But I think that it's just another kind of thing that you have to be able to navigate in all that you're building.
Luke, Vinny Anthony is a guy that got more playing time last week. What went into the decision to give him more snaps, and just what have you seen from him over the course of the year that gives you confidence?
Obviously, the situations, the health of a lot of guys, but I think the following last week, the week before, where all of a sudden he's the kick returner, he's the punt returner, he makes some plays. You see the aggressiveness, you see the spark that he provided a little bit in a couple weeks ago, and I think that's how guys don't understand. That's how playing time starts to happen. It's not everybody's granted the opportunity because they go to practice, because they work hard in practice. No, I mean, some guys are granted some opportunities because, of misfortunes that happen, and then others are granted because all of a sudden you see them earn, the opportunities and earn their growth of opportunities. And he's one that I like to say has done it the old-fashioned way, that all of a sudden he had some opportunities and went in there and made some really, really good plays and provided some spark, and we'll continue to see more.
Nebraska had a job opening last year at the same time Wisconsin did. I don't know if that was one that you considered at the time or were interested in, but can you recall what your impressions were of the program at that time and where they've come?
No, I didn't know what the impressions of the program here was, right? I mean, I was locked in and focused into the things that I was doing. We had some ups and downs as well. So, no, I don't, to be honest with you, I don't know what it's like in any other program. I got buddies that are coaches. I got buddies that are head coaches. I don't know what it's like in theirs, and not that we don't talk at times, but I think when you're all in, when you're enthralled into what it is you're doing, it's really hard to try to say. And I know that a lot of people would say, hey, if you're going to, when those guys are job searching, they start to, their guys give them packets, and this is what I was given packets last year or 2 years ago. I don't know that I ever opened them, to be honest with you. And you'd say that's not the smartest thing in the world, but it's just, look, when you're into what you're into, if all of a sudden something changes and you make a decision to go, if it's because of where the program is at that time, then you're probably making it for the wrong decisions. So I don't know where they were. I know that from where they were at the start of the year to where they are now, I think they've done a really, really good job.
What's probably the most challenging aspect of trying to get guys to turn the page when there's this level of frustration and, like I said earlier, like maybe questioning if everybody around them is on the same page?
Well, I think that we as coaches got to be an example of turning the page too. I got to walk in here on Sunday and put the thing to rest and move forward and not dwell upon it. So sometimes talking about these things that, on a Monday is not moving forward, but there's things we have to be able to do. I don't think there's any one thing. I think not say uniqueness of today, because social media has been around for a long time and opinions have been around forever, whether it's talk radio but it's the ability to kind of just kind of lock in. It's the ability to not allow those things to take you back to a place that you don't want to be, and you got to be able to control the things that go into your head, because our minds all race. I told them that they're no different than me. I'm no different than them in a lot of those things, but what we can control, we've got to be able to control.
Turnovers are kind of a streaky thing, they get up and down that way. But and especially in the last couple games when the defense hasn't been able to create any turnovers, I guess I'm wondering when you're looking at the tape or the film of the game, are you seeing guys doing the things necessary to at least give them a chance for turnovers? Yeah,
we got later in the game and you saw some guys doing the things that you work every week about stripping at balls and balls that go in the air, balls that are tipped, balls that are overthrown or underthrown. You got to be able to make those plays. We had one last week, but we're not putting people into situations where they have to be a little bit more aggressive too. And I think when when you don't do that, then people aren't taking as many chances and some things like that. And now there's not as many opportunities. Now there's always an opportunity a guy carries the ball, but that punching a ball out just doesn't happen all that often. It's more the pressure on quarterbacks. It's more of forcing them into doing things they don't want to do, making them have to be aggressive because of the nature and the way the game is going. And that's that complementary football that right now we're just not finding a way to be able to do. So when you aren't putting some more of those pressures on people, it's harder to create those turnovers.
2 to go. They will be at Northwestern this week and then close out at home for the Old Oaken Bucket against their in-state rival, the Indiana Hoosiers. A victorious Ryan Walters had an opportunity to address the media today.
Early in the year, it seemed like 3rd and short, 4th and short was your worst nightmare. And then you lose all of these linemen, and then last week your line plays maybe the best game of the year. And I know you got Josh Kaltenberger back, but you've got guys playing out of their natural positions. What changed for that unit that you were able to have the success you had last Saturday?
I think a couple of things. I think from a schematic standpoint, our offensive coaches have done a good job of identifying what works with this roster and what is realistic to ask them to do. Coupled with Hudson feeling healthy and being able to utilize him in the run game as well. And just our guys' willingness to go fight. That's what I was most proud of, especially up front. Like you said, we've battled adversity through injuries and like I said after the game, just playing musical chairs with who's at what position, and those guys' attention to detail and willingness to learn and put time and effort into multiple positions to be able to communicate different looks and all those kind of things based on what's called. They played really clean in the run game, and as a result, we were able to get those short yardage first downs and run for 353. That's a big deal.
Speaking of adversity, when a college kid hears blood clots, that's a pretty scary thing, and especially if you rely on your leg for your position. Just kind of tell us about Freehill's process and patience to hopefully get back, and then obviously had a lot of success for you the other day.
Yeah, you're right. Like when we heard blood clots for the first time as a staff, we're like, that's, in my mind, and I'm not a doctor, but you're right. It does sound like a big deal. Had him see the specialist and, gave him some time off. They also did like a minor procedure. And just when he was healthy and felt comfortable enough to kick, and he did. And as soon as it got to a point where there wasn't any swelling, when he would try to have those days where he would kick consecutively, then he was ready to go. And so I'm glad he is available now, and he's been doing a good job. I know he wants that one kickoff back that went out of bounds, but thought he otherwise did a really nice job.
I'm going to go to that. Is your idea there to try to make the return man have to decide, do I let this roll into the end zone?
No, that's not. It's not by design, believe me. We are trying to keep the ball in bounds. Nobody wants to put the ball in the air near the goal line and in play more than me, I promise you. So we'll keep working on that and try to get it fixed.
Last thing for me is just what in the hell is the story behind this scary-ass Chucky doll that you guys come out to the field with?
That's you will not be seeing the Chucky doll anymore, I promise. I didn't notice it until we were right about to leave the tunnel and run on the field. And by that time, I thought if I would have done what I wanted to do, it would have been a distraction. So we have had that conversation, and Chucky will be put to rest.
Yeah, Ryan, where's this offense been all year?
That's a loaded question, right? But I think there are a multitude of reasons, not really excuses, but reasons why we haven't been able to consistently perform the way we have, or the way we did on Saturday. One is just the health of the roster on offense, right? You got a new scheme, you got new faces, coupled with injuries throughout the season, and coupled with like the type of opponents we've played. You know, like there isn't a team that we've played that has a losing record. And so I think there's the combination of those things throughout the course of the year, and those things happening at different times, it's hard to be consistent, and it's hard to improve when you don't have those consistencies throughout the week to week to improve. And so I think, you know, one, like Hudson being healthy and being able to utilize, you know, his legs, his improvisational skills, and then also having, you know, albeit thin, but like the same guys up front communicating with each other, having Tyrone and Mock healthy together again. Garrett Miller is getting healthier as the weeks go, and then having consistency on the outside with the wideout group for, you know, multiple weeks in a row. I think all those things, you know, kind of factor into being able to go perform and execute. Right, I've always believed in the plan schematically going week to week, and I just think we were able to execute, you know, that plan on Saturday, and as a result, you know, it sort of looked like we all believed it to look and really looked like in practice.
You mentioned you haven't played anybody. Everybody on our schedules. Nobody on our schedule has a losing record. What did you think the first time you realized that? And I think one of our guys figured out the combined record of your opponents is 71-39 right now.
Yeah, I mean, everybody saw that preseason, right? Like, I think we're, by various accounts, had like the, you know, one publication would say it's the toughest schedule in the country. The other one was like top 5. You know, I'll be interested to see where it is at the end of the season. But we all knew like this was going to be we're going to be playing quality opponents week in and week out. You know, we knew like the health of our team was going to be important, and we all knew our ability as a staff to adapt and adjust to the roster and what was going on week to week was going to be important as well. And so obviously the win-loss column is not what we wanted it to be at this point, but, you know, I do think that we have improved as a roster. We've improved as a program, you know, not only on the field, but just the culture, the way we operate, the consistency with which we practice, the buy-in from the guys, just all the things that make up a program in order to have sustained success. I think those things are getting put in place, and we're just trying to finish out the season strong so that we gain some momentum and confidence going in to next year.
Nobody would dispute that Mockabee and Trace are two of your better playmakers. How often do you try to get both those guys on the field at the same time?
Yeah, I think that was part of the, you know, part of the whatever Graham and the offensive staff thinks is conducive to what we're seeing from the defense. You know, if you have them out there at the same time too much, then they're both get tired, right? Like you like to have one of those two guys fresh and going in the game. But I do think it does add some problems for defenses if they have to worry about both of those guys out there at the same time.
I know you don't want no coach likes to get ahead of themselves, but there is, I guess, still a shot even at 5-7. Maybe you guys can get to a bowl game. Is that thought crossed your mind at all?
Not, you know, a little bit. You know, right now, you know, my thoughts are all on Northwestern, but it would be beneficial if we lucked into that. Obviously, you got to close out the season the right way in order to get that opportunity. But if it comes, I mean, that's added practices that are vital to the progress of your program. So, would definitely help.
Ryan, at some point almost every week, you've been asked about how your team's mood was, energy after losses. I think it's fair to ask the same after the win. Was there any difference? Energy the same?
I mean, yeah, you win, right? Like you put a lot of effort and sweat equity into trying to come out victors, you know, in a field of competition. So, you know, everybody was obviously excited to see, you know, the results of what you worked hard for throughout the course of the week. But then again, Sunday it was like, okay, you put the game to bed, now it's reset, let's go do it again. So you get back refocused and not riding the high of success. It's back to putting your head down, going to work, and getting to know your opponent.
Speaking of your opponent, what have you seen from Northwestern that you guys need to focus on?
Yeah, I've been really impressed just throughout the year. Obviously, they hit adversity more than anybody else did right from the jump with the coaching change and all the things that were surrounding that program. So I've been ultra impressed with the culture. You can tell those guys have rallied behind that staff, and you can tell that by the way they play. Like, they play really, really hard, and they play with discipline. They play with detail. They play with a toughness and a physicality. And so I've been impressed with just that on both sides of the ball and special teams, just the effort and the physicality with which they play. Offensively, they operate primarily out of 11 and 12 personnel, but they'll mix in, an extra tackle here for a tight end. They'll put 2 quarterbacks in there at times and give you a little bit of variety. They play extremely well and together up front. I think the running back runs really hard. The quarterback's got a good arm, and he's consistent, and they got some wideouts that have some speed. The guy that transferred from Michigan in the slot can blow the top off of the defense. And then the 2 guys on the outside that do most of the playing are very consistent and don't drop a lot of balls and run clean routes. And so I'm impressed with the scheme they have on offense. On defense, they really rely on that second level. They've had a lot of experience. So most of the production kind of comes from that group, and I think schematically it's designed that way. They play with poise and fundamentals up front, and on the back end, they got one of their safeties is really, really physical and will get downhill and get downhill in a hurry. And when he gets to the ball carrier, he gets there with an attitude. And I've been impressed with him. And so we'll have to play the way we played on Saturday with that same type of effort, that same type of physicality, that same type of confidence. And so I'm excited to go compete on the road and try to, get 2 in a row for the first time this season.
Good morning. Thanks for being here. Obviously a disappointing outcome at Purdue on Saturday. Thought our guys responded really well yesterday. Came in ready to work, ready to learn, and learn from our mistakes. So I'm sure you have a lot of questions. We got a tough opponent, obviously, coming up here in Ohio State. We just started our game plan, so I don't have a ton of information just yet. They are the number 1 team in the country, so I'll let you kind of determine how good they are. But looking forward to a great opportunity. So, questions?
When you look at your defense and trying to find short-term solutions, how do you look at it from a coaching scheme and personnel standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you kind of have to look at right now. Unfortunately, some of our best players are out, and it seems like every week it's just the inconsistency of who's actually out there. Again, there's no excuses. I mean, 100% falls on the coaches and what we have to do to get them better. But you just got to find who's going to be in there, what can they do, what can't they do. Ultimately, the roster and the depth and where we are, that falls on the head football coach in terms of roster management and where you're at and what you're doing and what your philosophies are and what you're building. Sometimes you got to take a step back to go 2 steps forward. So then there's things outside your control with injuries that everybody deals with, some less, some more. So that's kind of where we are. So we'll just schematically we'll look at who's in there, what can they do, what are they capable of doing. But we were in a tough predicament last week, and a lot of the not just one position, but it was tough sledding for some of the safeties and linebackers. And I think you could see that with the performance that Purdue had. So proud of their effort. I mean, nobody's ever questioning their effort. I mean, they play so darn hard. And I love that as a head coach because we'll get the other stuff fixed. Over time, we'll get that fixed. They'll be really good players. We're playing people probably ahead of when they should play. However, when you look at them, my mind on the sideline when some of the things were coming out. And it kind of brought me back to the 2018 Maryland game, if you remember. And that's where my mind went. And Jordan Howden, who's starting in the National Football League right now, who's a really good football player and was a great player for us and I love Jay Howe, and he's probably going to see this. And Coach, you always talk about that game. But, I mean, he says it wasn't, but I think there were 3 touchdowns single-handedly he was responsible for, that it wasn't even close. And you're like, wow. And he came off that field probably sitting there going, I'm never going to play here. And turned out to be all-conference. Not only that, being drafted and starting in the National Football League now. But he wouldn't have become the player he was if we didn't invest in him as early as we did. He was a former walk-on. So, again, it's I know it's not where everybody wants it to be, but the year 7 piece, that doesn't have any – that doesn't make a lot of sense when you're talking about it's year 7. We should be X, Y, and Z. With the portal and NIL and all those things, we knew we had an experienced team last year. This team was going to get a lot younger, a lot more inexperienced really quickly, especially with the way that we run our program. And, we showed our team that yesterday. This is a bunch of different teams. They've had, 10 wins, 9 wins, 11 wins, whatever, and then boom, there's a year they had to be able to get maybe an injury bug, or they had, to be able to get a little younger first. And that's kind of what we showed them, that it happens all over the country to a lot of different teams. And, we've had our opportunities to win a lot of games, no matter who's been in there. And I'm proud of how hard they're playing. So, but they kind of, when I was on the sideline, it reminded me of that 2018 Maryland game. But you knew they would grow up, and the investment's worth it. And I keep saying that, the investment's worth it.
Each week about wanting to play 60 minutes of complementary football, offense, defense, special team. Yeah. But with 2 games left, at what point do you say, I don't know if this team is going to be able to do that?
Well, I don't think I'll ever say that, ever. That's not who I am, and that's not my DNA. That's not my nature. I always, when we talk about development, you got to be proud of something. You got to be grateful for what you have now, and then you got to be really excited for what's coming. I'm really excited for what's coming in the next 12 days. I'm really excited for next year. I'm really excited. I get excited about what's coming because you can see it. We have not played 100% complementary football, offense, defense, special teams. We just haven't done it. So that gives me hope that we can do it this week because I think this team can do it. We've been inconsistent with who's been out there. Not only that, just our execution of certain things, rightfully so. But we've shown flashes on all 3 phases of being a really good football team. And when you look at what's the next 12 weeks or 12 days of how they can continue to get better and keep improving, especially with how hard they're playing, anything's possible. So I'm proud of how hard they're working.
When you watch back the tape, what were the issues up front for the defensive line against Purdue?
When I looked at it, I don't know. This is not going to get into defensive line, linebacker, safeties, corners, who's responsible. We're responsible as a defense, period. But I thought our defensive line played extremely hard. I think when you look at kind of the front 7, there were some guys that are gaining experience that, maybe out of gap here and there. But I thought the D-line, they got after it. Maybe a little bit over-aggressive at times, maybe a little bit of lack of detail. The fundamental stuff was good, but the lack of detail where I think we're trying to make a play because at some point, like somebody's trying to, take over and say, okay, I'm going to stop the bleeding here. But I thought they played really hard up front. I think, when you have some inexperienced linebackers in there, I think our under coverage and under run fit, meaning that level right there wasn't very good, wasn't up to the standard. But that was to be expected. Now, again, not accepted, but it was expected when you put people in there haven't played a ton or haven't played at all. But again, that investment's worth it. And it's unfortunate that happened, truly. And that falls on me because I make those decisions of who goes in games. But you're doing everything you can to put your team right now in a position to win. And who's earned that opportunity. And kind of when you get down the depth chart a little bit, you're making some really tough decisions.
What would you like most about Ethan Split?
I think he's getting more consistent. By no means can you sit there and say, he's an elite quarterback in the Big Ten right now, and I don't know if he'd stand up here and tell you that. I think he's working to become that every single day, and I appreciate that from him. I think you're seeing a lot more comfort in the pocket. You're seeing a more understanding of the offense. I think you're seeing more understanding of situational football. He's thrown 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games with no interceptions. There's massive wins inside our walls that with the development of young players, you're like, all right, I see it. Not massive wins to the outside and to a result that you get judged upon and win and loss, but I'm seeing massive wins inside. I'm seeing massive wins with our young players coming back from injury, rehabbing, the way they're down there in the training room, the commitment level, the 5-6 times a day they're wearing out our trainers to get back on the field or just be in there to get healthy. Understanding how to take care of your body. There's so many wins inside of it that when you get to game day, okay, it might not be what everybody wants it to be right now, but I can see behind the curtain, and I see every day inside our walls. And that's why I say nobody ever questions how hard our guys work and how hard they play. Beginning of the year, I said we had to be able to stay pretty healthy. We were going to be a little thin at some positions. We're going to be a little inexperienced. And unfortunately, you can see that that's come to fruition. That we haven't been able to stay healthy at some of the key positions that we probably weren't as deep at or had enough experience at just yet. And that's part of college football. Not an excuse, reasons. And we got to continue to do everything we can for 12 guaranteed days, right, to put our best product on the field and continue to gain experience, but also go out and do everything we can to win football games.
Drops from the pass catcher position. What are the reasons you feel those keep recurring?
It's unfortunate. I think that, I can't sit there and give you the reasons. It's concentration, it's lack of focus, it's not looking at all the way in, hand placement, being friendly on your departure angle. Everything goes into that. There's a reason the NFL, tracks drops because they have a huge impact on a game. And unfortunately, there's been in some key situations that we haven't caught the ball. But, I look at the ones we have, and there's been some huge catches that we've had. And unfortunately, I think, every NFL team, every college team has some. Ours have come in some critical situations, unfortunately, and it's hurt us. But we'll just get them better and continue to do the drills that we do. And we take a premium that the ball's a program, but we've been a little inconsistent in that, which has hurt us in some games. But guys are working to fix that. I know that.
How tough was it to be without Cody Saturday after he was able to start 2 weeks ago, and what's his outlook this week?
He's one of the best players in the Big Ten, in my opinion. He's doing everything he can to get back. I know that. Our trainers do a really good job. I don't have any control whether people come back or not, when they come back or not, if they come back or not. Mike Sipniak and our whole training staff, Joy Thomas, they do such a good job of taking care of our players, and they never put them in harm's way. But they work really hard. And I'm telling you, Cody has lived in that training room. And, but he's the heartbeat of our defense. He's the leader of our defense. We knew that we were going to play another linebacker or two that were next to him, younger. But if there's one guy on this football team that we just couldn't lose at the beginning of the year, it was him. And unfortunately, that's college football. That's football in general. And, you can't go to the waiver wire and bring somebody in that's played 9 years of college football and ready to sign with you and has all this experience in the world. It's not anywhere close to professional football, not even close. But again, I'm responsible for the depth. I'm responsible who's on the team. The portal, obviously changes that when you get to April and you go dive into the portal to get some depth, and what you can get, what you can afford, what you can, what kind of products you're going to get at that level. Things have completely changed, and I think people have to put their head around them. College football of 2021 is not even close to where college football is in 2023, especially in roster management, depth, all that. And we're working every single day to put ourselves in the most opportunistic and premium way to build our roster for not only now but the future.
Key for your offense starting faster the last couple of weeks?
Well, I think that we've gotten to a rhythm. We've caught some, we've caught the balls. I think we've had a good mix of run and pass, and I think it's just, I think Ethan feels a lot more comfortable just as he continues to grow. I think that's a big piece of it. I think we've started really fast. People talk about the third quarter. I thought Iowa, we came down the field. But if you look at this particular game in the second half, there's 2 drops in the first 3 possessions that just kill the drive. There's one throw that, again, we're a foot off. It's just behind a receiver, and one's just a drop. Well, when you have 2 empty possessions, that's what happens in the Big Ten, and you're not stopping anybody on defense. It puts you behind. But I really loved how we started that football game. We were in attack mode the entire first half. Even when we got to the fourth quarter, I thought we got into a pretty good rhythm as well. So unfortunately, we just couldn't stop them. And they played really well. I think that's probably the best they've played on offense all year. But part of that was when you look at our defense, it just wasn't, we weren't in the right positions. We just weren't as sound as we can be, which again, it's not acceptable by any means. But at times when you put some people in there, you can understand. I mean, I understand. People aren't going to understand. I'm not saying it's acceptable, but I understand. And it's my job and our job to fix that. To Andy's question of what we need to be able to do, we got to find out what they can do, who's going to play this week, and what they're capable of doing, and then apply that.
Just to get started, quarterback-wise, Heinrich has a pretty good ankle sprain, so we'll see if he can do anything tomorrow. Chubba came out of the game a little bit banged up. Hasn't played much, so he's a little bit banged up from getting hit. Jeff healthy, so we'll go through the week and probably come all the way up to game time in terms of who will play. So obviously each guy brings a little bit something different to the table, so we'll have sort of a pretty diverse plan and see who's able to go. But I won't be able to comment on Heinrich till after I see him tomorrow if he can do anything at all. With regards to this week, obviously we're really excited to have a chance to go to Madison, Wisconsin, an iconic place, a place that I played at as a player. And, Coach Fickell does a great job as he's in year one. Both teams at 5-5, trying to obviously get a win this week on national TV. Great opportunity for our guys. Really, really, really excited for our guys. I've tried to be honest with you guys every week about how I really feel about the tape. I'll tell you. I thought defensively, and I thought many players on offense, that was by far our best game. I thought our offensive line, it was by far the best game on offense. And so I was proud of the guys, and I told them that. We never accept losing, obviously. But, to me, the process that we're trying to put in place is working for a lot of guys. And so the lessons for our team is, hey, you're probably not going to have 5 turnovers and win very many games, especially in the Big Ten. But to have 5 turnovers and lose by 3 says a lot. Just to have that game be close versus a talented Maryland team. We want to have fourth quarter shutouts. We can't give them the ball at the 25-yard line no matter how they got it and have a penalty and have a missed assignment that leads to a field goal. So there's a lot of lessons to be learned, but I was proud of the guys, and I'm excited to take them out there this week. They continue to fight each and every week, and more importantly, they get better. And so I'm proud of where we're headed, and with that, I'll see all the questions you guys have.
What do you think the largest issue is with your quarterback play? What can be fixed in the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think there's been several issues throughout the year, and so anytime that you have this, the number one is turnovers, right? I mean, we have 3-point games. I think in those 3-point games, I think we have 12 turnovers in those 3-point games. Check me if I'm wrong. I think 11 of them come out of the quarterback position. So to me, to turn the ball over, right? At the same time, a lot of those games were close because, Heinrich made great runs or, Jeff made some great runs against Minnesota. So a lot of good things happened from those guys. I'm one of those coaches that, I don't love to make big, everything to me is very incremental. Hey, it was this here, it was this here. But certainly, I would be a fool not to sit here and tell you it's protecting the football. In the passing game, I think, obviously the first interception, I'll still feel like, the one with Jeff, Malachi gets tackled and we're running a double move. But I'd love to see our quarterbacks, as I talk to them, just be a little bit more intentional about. We can't keep throwing balls up, and we can't just throw balls up to a spot thinking the guy's going to be there. At the end of the day, you have to be intentional at quarterback. Every ball you throw is a ball you want to throw. And we had twice where guys threw interceptions, kind of backing up and letting it rip, and that's not who we are. That's not who we should be. And so, there's always a yin and yang to it. Obviously, they're young players. I'm trying to guide them through it. We're trying to guide them through it at the same time, having expectations and standards for the way that we want to play. So what can be fixed in the next 2 weeks? I certainly think, Sam, that, we fixed kind of the pocket ball security. You go back 2 games ago, not the pocket, running the ball. Heinrich had 2 fumbles, and so we've certainly worked on that. We've certainly worked on the way we hold the football. This was interceptions this week. And, so what can we do? We just keep coaching. And I know that sounds trite, maybe, but we just keep coaching, we just keep pushing, we just keep grinding, we just keep working, and hope that it just continues to come to fruition. build on the good things and try to eliminate the bad things.
How do you get these guys to not think about it, though? I mean, 22 turnovers by the quarterbacks. It's got to be a mental side to it, too, now for those guys every time they're out there with the ball in their hands.
Yeah, you know, I think the thing that you always try to get guys to do, and again, I show them lots of different things. You know, I talk a lot about basketball, and I talk a lot about, like, last week we showed them Kobe talking about as a rookie, you know, shooting 5 air balls in the finals, Game 7, and then coming back the next year and making those shots. And I think the biggest thing is, you know, when you're a basketball player, when you're Michael Jordan, when you're LeBron James, when you're, I'm not, like, that's about the end of my extent of who's a great basketball player nowadays, but you don't go to take the last shot and think about how you're going to shoot. Like, you just shoot the way you shot 1,000 times. And to me, that's trusting your training, and that's really our process. Our process is practicing so much and working so much that we can trust our training. And so as you get late in the Big Ten year and you go through the Big Ten for the first time, and you know you start to experience these teams and things that they're doing, trusting the training that we're going to have, whether it's a read, whether it's a decision. So you look at 2 of the interceptions, 2 of them are backing up and just kind of throwing it. Another one's just, you know, throwing it, you know, to a spot, hoping that it's going to be completed. And those things just can't happen. And but in terms of for the players, my job is to help them become great players. It's not, hey, don't throw interceptions. It's, is this what you're trained to do? Like, like you've worked your whole life to get to this point. Like, what should you do in this moment? Like, hey, it's not there. I should reverse out. I should go make a play. Like, we want our guys to play free. And so, I'm not giving you great answers other than just, to me, it's always about trusting your training, going, Chubba comes down at the end. Chubba ran the scout cards last week. Chubba's, that's just part of, hey, putting your third quarterback in. But I have a lot of confidence in Chubba. And if you go back to every answer you guys have ever asked me about him, I believe in the kid. I believe in Chubba, and he's kind of healthy now, and you saw him running. It's just, you put him out there. He hasn't had a ton of reps. He'll get some reps more this week if he has to play. I'm sure he'll be ready to play. So I think it's that. I think it's trusting your training. I think it's time. I think it's time on task. A lot of these guys haven't played a ton of football. Jeff has, but Chubba hasn't played a ton. You think back, and I sat down with him yesterday. We kind of kicked it for a little bit and talked. And it was like, well, I played 2 games in 2020. I played a couple games in 2021. I started 2 games last year. I played a half. I think a quarterback, you got to play. I think you have to play and play and play and get comfortable, get in a rhythm. There's a lot of things. I always start with myself. What am I not doing right? I'm the head coach. Everything that happens here, I'm responsible for. You look at that game, a lot of things are the same thing over and over again. Like we don't really get beat, but we do get beat on double moves in the secondary, right? So we sit there and you look at you look at a team and you're like, well, they don't do this. We're kind of a good defense, so we're going to get the same couple things. And so just challenging our staff, but really challenging myself, like what are the things that needs to be fixed? I have not solved this issue in terms of the turnovers. And so I don't go in there and say, guys, we got 22 turnovers, we got to fix it. Like, they know that. I just say, hey, are we trusting our training? Is this the ball that you wanted thrown? Was this intentional, or was this just sort of like, oh, I don't know what to do? And if it is, just continue to give them those opportunities, those reps, and continue to work. That's as honest an answer as I can really give you, because I don't have the answer, if that makes sense. I'm working through it, but I believe in these guys. I want to make that very clear. I believe in these guys. I'm not one of those coaches who's like, man, we just need to no, these guys can play. They just have to continue to work and grind through this. And on the other end of it, like, to give you an example, I showed them the punt fake in the game, okay? And then I showed them the first time we practiced it in practice, the Tuesday before Michigan. And literally, Borgature and Snodgrass run into each other because each guy's think, because we checked that play, right? And then I showed them in the game versus a look we've never practiced. And there's one extra guy there, Marco Ortiz. No one ever talks about the long snapper, man. He makes an unbelievable block. And Bullock and Ty Hahn and Elijah Judy, who's really wants to be a tight end, makes an unbelievable block. And Snodgrass comes around and picks up the extra guy. And I guess my point to them was, guys, I hate to say this, but everything takes time. And you have to just keep working. What sometimes happens at quarterback is because it's so visible, the weight of being the starting quarterback in Nebraska can sometimes weigh on you so much, you start searching for answers. And there are no answers. You got to just go back to work every week. It's this incremental, like, one better approach. And so I hope that we play really well this week. I hope that we solve the problem this week. But the only way to solve it is just to keep getting a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. I'll say one more thing, and this is going very long, so please forgive me, okay? But I showed our coaching staff a cut-up, and these are my friends. Ryan Day is a friend of mine. Justin Fry, the O-line coach at Ohio State, is a friend of mine. But, you asked me, Sam, you asked me a question a couple weeks ago about the reverse at Michigan State, why we got 8 yards. They ran the exact same play Ohio State ran the exact same play. And they made one more block than we made, and Marvis Harrison came around for a 22-yard touchdown. We ran a Y sail route into the boundary. They ran about 12 of the same type of concepts because we all have the same plays. And so my message to the coaching staff was, it's not the plays, it's not the application. I mean, you always want to call back here and there. It's the players and their confidence level and their execution level. And it's not like, hey, players, you got to make it right. It's actually just continuing to watch these guys grow. Like, look at Javen Wright. Look at what Reps is doing for him. This is a guy that was like, hey, should I even come back this year? Am I a corner? Am I a safety? What am I now? He's out there ripping balls out. So it'll all come together for the quarterbacks. We just love for it to happen right now.
Just a lot of stuff, Sunday after watching the film, especially on the offense side of the ball, just very impressed with a lot of guys. Obviously, a couple guys got headlines, but to be quite honest, Zai and Julian probably played the best football that they've played. Julian really in his entire career here, and Zai to date by far the best. He's put together a couple good strings of plays in a row, and then obviously Reggie, going into that game, really his first full week and we even actually backed off him on Wednesday. If the game heading into it, we thought obviously Caden would be the major workhorse, and then we thought Reggie somewhere 15 to 25. He ended up playing 67 plays the way he played. Just incredible performance by him. It really at the wide receiver position. Isaiah, Casey, Pat, Pat was having a heck of a game until he got rolled over on the sideline over there. They kind of grabbed his ankle and rolled it a little bit, and Ashton came in, and Ashton was just awesome. Not only his blocks, but there's a play where he actually freed up Reggie on that crack toss. It was just the growth that young man's had has been absolutely awesome, and then the quarterback play for John was just awesome. Really what we saw all week during practice was kind of what carried into the game. I know last week you guys had it, we didn't really know if Luke was going to be cleared last week. He had a chance to pass the test on Wednesday, and if that was the case, that he had passed and he could have been cleared by Saturday, but that was ruled out from Wednesday. He actually did pass the next phase of the test on Friday. We took him and threw him around last night, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Defensively, obviously, way too many points, way too many penalties. It got to a point of ridiculousness, but there were some guys that played extremely well. Johnny just continued to be as impressive player as I've ever witnessed in my coaching career. Like, I know we've hit on it, but he just got up for the Bednarik. Is that the one's out already? And he's going to be mentioning a couple other here in the next coming days, and just a really, really, really impressive player to watch in many different ways. I thought Gabe and Seth together on the edges probably played the most complete game they had played. Gabe really came alive with a couple sacks and just the strength and the power that he has. Seth continues to move forward. Dylan Rosiak came in and did another really good job. And again, at the end, he made two critical plays, kind of like last week when he made some plays down the stretch there that were pretty important. So, and then it was really cool. I know we talked about him after the game. Mac Rossetich came off the bench and made a huge play that I think really could parlay into something special for him. Special teams, Hugh was incredible in the hang time. That's probably the best performance he'd had, actually, in the execution of the punt, the way we got it. David Alano, after hitting one, he really found his groove back in, I would say, more in line to what we had at the beginning of the year when he was really stroking it well. And then Caleb obviously missed the PAT, but to connect on the field goal is just really special from a national award standpoint. Obviously I already mentioned Johnny, but for Isaiah to get on the Blitnikoff, I know you guys know you've probably been tired of me here and trying to labor him into that, but I give Bret Moore a lot of credit, the detail that Bret puts together to get these guys on these lists. Just truly excited for Isaiah and the work that he's put in, and John had to get the Big Ten Player of the Week, and then also the national recognition on a few other awards have been absolutely awesome. Injury-wise, Reggie handled it really, really well. Like I said, we thought it was going to be limited. He came through for his teammates in a big way. Keith, I wouldn't say he's quite back to where he needs to be, but he definitely sucked it up and played and did as good as we could expect. And then I thought two guys that shined for us at times, probably played as well as we have seen him play. And Bryce Barnes got in and did another continued things. Caden, who's going to be to be determined, hasn't been fully functional yet. Obviously, we haven't practiced, but depending on how he handles the week, we'll determine his availability. And then, the guy that obviously everybody's going to talk about, Luke, he basically was in a position on Saturday that he could be no contact, didn't want to put him out there. You probably saw him out there throwing around. We don't normally go out on the grass on Sunday, but we took him out on the grass Sunday and threw him around with the wideouts and did some stuff he looked really, really good on. He can't get officially cleared until he goes through a couple protocol things this week, but as coaches, we'll kind of work through that during the course of the week and see where it goes. Zai rolled his ankle but went back out there and, again, played well. And then Pat Bryant didn't finish the game, but he was trying to get back in there. I don't know if we'll have him available for Tuesday, but the plan is to have him out there Wednesday and should be good to go by Saturday. So be nice to get some of these guys back out here and moving. Kind of excited. Iowa, obviously, we played Iowa since I've been here, but that was the week that Ryan got COVID the week before. I got it after him, and I missed this game the last time it was played. But to go back and more importantly, to play a Big Ten team that's at the top of the B1G West, right? And Kirk and I have known each other for a long time, worked for him, utmost respect, a lot of things that I believe in. I carried through the beginning phases of learning from him, so excited for that matchup and all that goes into it. Excited for our guys. Obviously, there's a lot to be said about what's all on the line, but really just to play Iowa at Iowa. It's going to be their senior day. I think it'll be a tremendous opportunity for our guys to kind of continue to grow and see where we're at. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
Well, how will you approach quarterbacks this week? Obviously, Luke not cleared, but even if he is cleared, how will you go about that?
You know, quarterbacks, because of protocol, they have to be cleared for contact, but hopefully your quarterbacks don't have much contact, right? So, like, it's kind of unusual to get a quarterback. So he's got to go through some things Tuesday that will clear him for basically, if he has no issues on Tuesday, he would be cleared full go if we played a game on Wednesday, just the way it kind of all lays out. So I think we'll just kind of take it to that approach. We'll just, if you know, I've never been a coach that has ever put a player in a position that they've lost by injury, right? So kind of went through that with my first year, but obviously John has played exceptionally well from the time he entered the game 2 weeks ago against Minnesota to the way he played last week. But I think our guys will know the plan very clear Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we'll make a decision as it gets closer. But the good news is we got two guys that we feel can play. And I'll say this, you know, Donovan got a lot of work last week. We worked Cal into some things, so there's been some alternate plans that have been a benefit of this whole situation.
Big Ten, you mentioned briefly, Big Ten West, a chance to still get in there with a lot of things. Do you talk about that with the guys at all? Are you worried about
I don't. Here's what I do know. In this world that we live in today, there's just so much availability for them to gather information. So on Sunday, we always take a kind of the look at world of college football. I definitely showed them where we stand, you know, with 5 other teams that are in the Big Ten West. I did make note of, you know, we still had 2 teams that were listed above us, so we got to play Iowa and Northwestern, and obviously Wisconsin and Minnesota are behind us. And, you know, the only team that's mathematically eliminated is really Purdue, right? So I think it's just one of those things. You make sure they understand it, but this really is. I've really had our guys focus the last 2 weeks on a daily approach. They've done a really good job, and we'll just kind of continue that momentum. But they are, I think, very aware of what could be out there, but they have to take advantage of this opportunity this week before it even matters.
You coach there, you know Kirk. Can you shed some light on what just makes Iowa so consistent year in and year out on defense?
Yeah, I think obviously the direction and the plan. You know, Kirk was an assistant under Hayden, so Kirk tells a story. He actually lied to Hayden about his age when he got the job. They didn't do a lot of HR research, I guess, back then. I think he let Coach know that he was a little bit older than he really was. He always tells that story. I think it's kind of funny. And so he went there as a young coach, was around a lot of really good coaches, Dan McCarney, Bill Snyder, that staff, Barry Alvarez. Like, I mean, it was an all-star staff that learned fundamental football. And then, you know, I think as I've evolved in my career, I always go back to, you know, I was with Hayden, obviously, I was with Kirk, I was with Bill Snyder, I was with Barry Alvarez, and every one of those guys had some Hayden things in them, right? And even Coach Alvarez, when he was around me, he would always laugh when he would see me do Hayden things, you know, like within the program. So I think the foundation starts it, and then they just do a really good job of evaluating. Not just Kirk, I mean, Phil Parker, he and I were young coaches. I was a linebacker coach, he was a DB coach. He hadn't been around Norm in a coordinator role. As I didn't know Norm at all. He knew Norm a little bit. So I learned the defense through Phil and Norm. So the foundation of what this defense is, I was there for the whole part of it. And that's a huge factor in their success. Obviously, Phil's done an incredible job defensively year in and year out. LeVar Woods, who's our special teams coordinator, is a guy that I think the world of, that I actually helped recruit him to the University of Iowa, and he played when I was a coach. He and I have stayed extremely close. He's really close with Charlie Bullen. LeVar's a very talented coach. And then Brian, ironically, I coached in high school camp when he was playing linebacker before he became an O-lineman. So I've known all those guys for a long time, and tremendous respect. They just do things the right way and play with great fundamentals and good discipline.
Appreciate you coming out. Got a quick turnaround here out to State College. Huge challenge, one that I know our team's looking forward to. So I'll try to answer your questions.
Third straight week, you're going up against an elite defense. What do you see from Penn State's defense and what they do so well?
Yeah, you're right. Third week in a row, really, I guess a top 5 defense 3 weeks in a row. It's hard to do, right? I guess 4 and 5 would be the remaining, but they're really good. They're good at all 3 levels. They run as well as any defense I've seen in a long time. Their front runs. Their defensive ends run as well as most teams' safeties. I mean, they really have an unusual group of talent there this year. So, big challenge. Certainly have our hands full. Working hard to try to figure it out.
I guess they're coming off a situation where they just fired their offensive coordinator. Does that change anything that you're doing or look at that situation differently?
I don't really know what we can go off of. You know what I mean? Like, I know all the parties involved, and I've known, I've known Juwan since he was a kid in high school. His daddy was the I believe he was the athletic director at Glade Central High School down in Florida. So, I mean, years and years. They're all good coaches. They'll have a great plan put together, I'm sure. When you look at their personnel, that's what I know. They got 2 elite running backs, really, really good running backs. A very good offensive line with an elite tackle. They have 2 or 3, depending on who's judging, I think great tight ends. A young quarterback who's as acclaimed as they come, and receivers that are definitely on the up. So, they're a very complete football team. I've said it. I think they have a lot of pieces in place there.
Coach, what do you know about how Kyle Monangai's feeling right now, injury-wise, and how do you feel about how he's?
Yeah, it's early in the week still with all those injuries, bumps and bruises, whatever you want to call them. I think by Saturday, when the availability report comes out, I think we'll have a much better understanding where we are.
Greg, you haven't been afraid to bench quarterbacks in the past, whether it's Reinhardt, Tom Savage, guys who went on to have great careers here. Is that anything you've considered doing with Gavin, considering some of his struggles the last 2 or 3 weeks? And is that something that can sometimes help a player in the long run of their career?
Don't know about part 2, but part 1, no. That's not something I'm considering.
Greg, it seems like the team's best games this year have been when Gavin was able to be effective running the ball. On Saturday, he wasn't really able to get it going and only kept it a few times. On those inside zones, does Gavin have the autonomy to pull and run if the aggressive end is crashing, or is that decision made pre-snap?
It's interesting that you read that question. That was somewhere from your football 101, or I'm not going to get into how we read plays, Richie. I'll never do that. That would be foolish on my part. You're right. Gavin didn't carry it as much as he has, and in retrospect, maybe we should have. Right? There's a lot of the tough thing where we are right now is, if all of us were together on July 31st and we were hanging out talking, and somebody said, "Okay, it's you're going into the 4th quarter at Kinnick Stadium, and it's 6-0 Iowa. And by the way, you're 6-3. Would you take it? Would you have taken it in July? I would have taken it in July. We are a developmental program. We're developing, for sure. We're going like this. But let's realize who we are. Like, that's one of the biggest things I talk to our team about at Rutgers. And I think, that meant a lot that have been here longer than I have, so I kind of know about this place. I might not know about every place, but I know about this place. And at this place, you really got to stay focused on who you are. See, the way we've played the game has allowed us to be in every single game this year going into the 4th quarter with an opportunity to win. In the past, that wasn't the case. So to me, that's an incremental improvement. I know we'd all love to go from 4-8 to 12-0, but it's just not going to work that way at Rutgers. Maybe somewhere else, but not here. Maybe if you go into free agency, NIL, and get all these players in a swoop because you had a bankroll the size of Detroit, then maybe you turn it. But we don't have that. So we know who we are. I know who we are. And the way we're playing the game right now might not necessarily be the way we play it 2 years from now, when some of these younger players that we think are really promising now are developed and playing at a different level, then we can play the game differently. So everything we do right now, whether it's right or wrong, that can be argued. That's the beautiful thing about sports, right? That's why you guys have jobs. You write stuff, it stirs it up. People want to talk about it. That's how I have a job, because people want to come watch it. But we really think the way we're doing it gives us the best chance to win. It doesn't guarantee us a win. We're not at that point. Hopefully, down the road, we'll be at that point. And that's kind of how we do it. With your question is particularly how we're going to read something out, I would never get into that. But I will say that I do agree with you. When he runs the ball, he's been effective. Nothing was really effective Saturday after the first quarter. The first quarter, we're moving the ball. We just shoot ourselves in the foot with those procedure penalties, and it's not going to be quiet this weekend, right? So it was really loud at Iowa, and guess what? At Beaver Stadium, it gets pretty loud. So we're going to have to get over that and figure out how to operate in the noise, poise in the noise. Long answer.
To that end, well, you kind of answered this question, but do you think in hindsight, you guys were offensively a little conservative against Iowa?
Yeah, I wouldn't say conservative. I'd say that's the plan that we had to win the game. Now, you may on the outside, when it doesn't work and you look back at it retrospectively, it's always easy to look at it after the fact. But going into the game, we felt like that was the way. Again, when I say things, sometimes I think you guys think I'm leading you breadcrumbs somewhere. But I wasn't leading you on breadcrumbs. They were 15-1 in the month of November in the last 4 years. Well, now they're 16-1, right? They have a formula that, quite honestly, we're trying to duplicate in some ways as far as the way we play our football. So, yeah, I'm not going to get into too conservative. That was the way we went into the game planning, and it worked to a degree, but we weren't able to finish the job, so it didn't work. And our defense, we can't do that, leave the defense out there that long, right? But had some of those procedure penalties not happened, I would have liked to see that game. But you know what? You can't live in the ifs and buts world. That's what killed us. Those penalties, absolutely, we're not good enough to overcome them. At some day we may be, but we're not now. Again, know who you are, and the argument could be, do you abandon the plan then after those penalties? I didn't think so. Again, retrospectively, you can argue anything.
With those penalties, I mean, how difficult is it realistically to try and diagnose that during the week and then fix that going into another loud environment?
I think it's very fixable. I really do. I think that it wasn't just the noise, and I'm not going to get into too many details, but and it was nothing illegal by them. Last time I said something, a lot of people got very excited about it. We did not do a good enough job handling it. I just said poise in the noise. That's what we need to do. And we hadn't experienced it maybe to that degree, but the noise that was on our practice field last week was louder than the noise in Kinnick Stadium. I can tell you, because I was in the middle of it, and I could hear the stuff I needed to hear on Saturday, and on Tuesday and Wednesday I couldn't. So we need to just keep practicing at it again. We're developing. We'll develop how to play in that kind of environment, hopefully in time to get out there in Beaver Stadium and be able to do it.
What did you learn about Ian Strong playing on the road and putting together a pretty nice performance?
Well, I think Ian's performed from the very beginning, right? I mean, it was opening game, I believe he made that tremendous catch, right? Opening game, was it? It was top 10 or number 1 on ESPN, right? So I think he's a really fine athlete. All these freshmen guys, let's be real now. It's mid-November. They started training camp in August. Their bodies, minds, everything are not prepared for that, right? That's not what high school's like. So they are all at some point or another hitting the wall. And Ian is working his tail off because he's hit the wall. He's got things that are bothering him physically that he's learning. In college, you push through those things. But I was very pleased that he answered the bell when Jaquay went down and showed some great toughness because he wasn't 100% either out there. I knew he was going to play, but I knew he wasn't 100%.
Coach, now it's been a couple games since you lost Tyreen Powell to an injury. How do you feel about how the linebacker group has stepped up since then, and what do you hope to see out of that group heading into this one?
Well, it's a very good question, and I think, number one, we really miss Tyreen Powell because he is as complete a football player as we have on our defense. And when you realize that is when you go through the other things he did. He was the adjuster on punt. Then every specialty play that we have built in that you don't see until you see him, right? End-of-game plays, end-of-game offensive plays. Tyreen was on all of those. Why? Because he's 6'5". He's got a tremendous width to him, that he catch radius. So he was on so many things. You don't realize it even as a coach until he's not on him, and you got to replace him on the depth chart in all these different areas. So we certainly miss Tyreen. I think the linebackers have really stepped up. I thought that Dion played maybe his best game Saturday. He really played well. I think Mo is really getting all these more reps, I think, is even getting more advanced. Again, we have to remember that this isn't a position that Mo played for us. This is his first year being a full-time linebacker, and I think he's really developing nicely. So, and then I think, we have some young guys behind them that are close to being ready to go do it in games. And I hope that can take a little bit of load here off those two guys in the last 2 weeks of the season.
Hello, everyone. I'm back again for another week to get on track and play with discipline and finish a game against another good opponent in the Big Ten in Indiana. And so our guys had a good practice today, and look forward to many more good practices throughout the course of the week as we continue to prepare.
Coach, how you doing?
Good.
If you decide to write a book after this season, maybe an idea, and this was chapter 10, what would the title be? What would this chapter be about right now?
Finish. It'd be just about finish now. You always want to finish what you start. I remember for years being with Coach D'Antonio, he used to talk about how his dad used to say, complete your circles. And so you got to finish. Once you start something, you have to finish. And so that's where we are right now, in the point where we need to finish, no matter, regardless of what has happened or what's going to happen in the future. We can control what we can control, and that's finish. Mm-hmm.
Harlon, is there any extra motivation? Obviously, you guys want to win every game and all that, but the way last year played out with them when you guys had the lead chance to lock up a bowl game, and obviously what happened. Is that anything?
I haven't even looked at it and come from that perspective. Again, it's a new year. They have a new team. We have a new team. So I never come from that perspective like that. It's just more, let's get better, let's play hard, and let's finish and try to get a win. So no, it hasn't been a motivational thing based on what happened last year. I mean, that was us not finishing, and so we had to finish.
I'm wondering about Bogle. He was out. Did you expect him back this year? And what did you see with some of those younger defensive ends going against the offensive line of Ohio State?
We thought they did well. Jalen Thompson and as well as Zion Williams. They did Williams. I'm thinking right, but they did a really good job. And so going to be really, really good football players. I mean, that's a lot. How many reallys? Was that 2 or 3? But they're going to be really, really, really good football players. And they held their own. And Bogle, he'll be back this week. He'll be back this week. He was at practice today even. Yeah.
Talley also played a little bit, played some defensive tackle earlier in the year, played some DM. How's he been coming along?
He's been coming along well. Like you just said, he's been playing some D-tackle, and we're trying to beef him up a little bit. But he's naturally, his size-wise, is more of a defensive end. And another guy that played well for us. He did a good job. You saw he made some plays. I think he had a tackle for a loss or whatever, but did a good job for us. So it's a promising defensive line front if we can all stay together and keep moving forward.
Now that you've had time to watch the film, what have you seen with the offense and why it keeps stalling, and what can you learn from the last game and apply it to the upcoming one?
It's what I thought, it's always one guy here or there with the execution piece, just finishing their job and doing their job with great execution and getting it done. So it's always this one little thing, and you're like, man, there it is if we just execute. So we just keep talking great attention to detail, and then finishing and doing your job at a very high level consistently. And you just got to keep preaching it to them until they get it.
Harlon, I guess it's been determined with you and Sam that Levitt will redshirt. So you're in a precarious position if Caton goes down. Noah's not ready yet, right? You're in a situation where Scorfar would have to play, even though clearly he's not ready, correct?
Yeah, Scorfar would have to play. We may have to get you as well ready, Fred.
I'm not ready.
Yeah, come on, Fred. You can't do this like that. No, but we have some other options. We have some options if worse come to worse, and if we have to, whatever, we'll figure it out. There's some other things that we could possibly do, and hopefully it doesn't get to that.
But Jim is not ready.
No, he's not ready. He is not ready. No, and he's still healing up. I'm not sure about that. We'll see.
Sticking on the availability front, when Trey missed the last two games, Jerron was out Saturday, so two of your top receivers were out of unavailable. Do you expect either of them back this week or this season?
Probably Ron. I'm not so sure about Trey, but Ron, we should hopefully get back soon. Not exactly sure when, so we just have to keep seeing.
And what's your kind of overall view of Indiana and what you've seen from them this season?
Well, they played a high-scoring game on this past Saturday. Quarterback, was throwing a lot of back shoulder fades this past. We just kept throwing it, and they ran the ball well. He's a big guy that run. He had a nice touchdown run where he got stoned by a couple guys and stayed on his feet and kept on going and got a touchdown. And so, good quarterback. Defense plays hard. They compete, and so it's going to be another tough Big Ten football game, and they're down in Bloomington. So we're looking forward to it, though. We feel like we can go down there and compete and get a win.
How are you communicating with recruits and prospective recruits that probably have a lot of questions that you can't answer? How difficult is that right now in this situation?
Well, that can be tough, but you just let them know that, hey, it's still a great place. Because I am a Spartan, it's probably a little bit easier for me, if I'm just being totally honest, because I want to see us succeed here regardless. And so I can talk in terms of that, how good the place is, the history of it, and all that, regardless of who's here as the next coach or coaching staff. So that makes it a little bit easier for me doing it. But I totally understand if there's some not stability here in certain areas, then a recruit parents will be like, okay, what are we saying? So until we get to that point, you just got to keep selling the university.
So you're recruiting for Michigan State and not Harlon Barnett.
That's correct. Even if it was for Harlon Barnett, it would still always be Michigan State first. And so, exactly right.
With Jaron playing, as most we've seen him all season this past week, how much did that change just the dynamic in the backfield where Nate doesn't have to take as much of the burden, and what that does for you guys in the run game?
Oh, it helps us out tremendously because Nate doesn't have to carry the whole load, so to speak. And Jaron's a really good back, and he seems like he's getting his feet up underneath him, no pun intended. But he's really hitting a hole. He's quick for a big body guy, and we're fired up that he's playing for us now and getting some time.
You mentioned after the game.
Just want to start by congratulating Todd Yeagley and our soccer program on being regular season and conference tournament champions. Once again, their just continued success and being the
the class of soccer in the Big Ten is impressive. So congrats to them and wish them the best in the tournament. Wanted to recognize some of our players for the week from this past week. The scouts, they continue to do a tremendous job getting us ready. Ray Stewart, Aaron Stewart, defensive scout team players of the week. Offensive scouts were Eli Yoakum and Darren McCauley. And then special team scouts were Jackson Wasserstrom and Clayton Allen. So guys continue to work really hard for our team, help us get prepared. Obviously, still just a tough loss on Saturday. Super proud of our fight of our team and just the ability to give us a chance at the end. Really encouraged by the growth of our offense and their development. Very disappointed in our defense. It's just it's on me. It's my responsibility. Take full responsibility for that. And as head coach and that side of the football must play better and really just didn't get the job done. And we definitely played well enough offensively to win the game. So opportunity this week is tremendous. Being the brass platoon, a huge opportunity for our team. Our guys understand and thought we had a really good day yesterday, coming back, bouncing back and getting our minds right and having a good day together. And that's our whole focus now is get ready for our first trophy game we have of this season and big opportunity. Michigan State's a very talented football team that just very obvious when you watch film, very physical, plays very, very hard. Just a lot of respect for them staying together and fighting, and it's obvious on film that's what they've continued to do. So big week for us, important game. Can't wait. Questions?
Coach, with a bowl opportunity off the table, a couple weeks left, I know you want to do right by the seniors and try to win out, but how do you balance maybe trying to get younger guys some more reps for development for the future? Kind of what's your philosophy on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there'll be some that will naturally be involved just because of the, some guys getting nicked up or dinged up this time of year. But the objective is win the football game Saturday and the following week as well. So two very, very important games for us, for our program, and for everything moving forward. So bottom line is that, yeah, some of those younger guys are going to be have opportunities because of their development throughout the season and get those chances during these last couple weeks of practice. But at the same time, the goal is to win the game.
Yeah, what's kind of the plan this week in practice in terms of addressing some of the miscommunications and breakdowns defensively, and just how you're going to try to go about fixing that?
Yeah, so I think from day one, just continued reps on possible scenarios that happen within a call with motions and movements, different things like that, and just continue to make sure all the guys that are going to play are fully prepared for that. And from starting with the walkthroughs all the way through even some post-practice work to making sure that those get fixed and get corrected, and obviously, causes issues on Saturday. So without question, major emphasis, make sure the plan is direct and simple enough to be executed by all the guys that may be playing due to whatever happens throughout the course of the game, and making sure that our guys can execute the calls, because that's what has to happen.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about Donovan. Obviously, you tabbed him as a potential breakout guy as far back as the spring, but since he's moved to receiver, he's dealt with 2 different wide receiver coaches, 2 offensive coordinators, I think 5 different quarterbacks. Just how has he been able to develop in the way he has, despite all those moving pieces?
Yeah, that's a valid point, and I think it's just a testament to him, his talent, his drive. He's just continued to. He just keeps getting better and better all the time. And I saw that in him and felt like he could be. He and I have had a lot of one-on-ones about it. And the way he played on Saturday is what I envisioned him playing, being a guy that it's a very difficult matchup and just big, strong, and tough to defend. So just to me, I just think it's, once again, he's just worked extremely hard. He's very coachable. He's very humble in regards to whoever he's with. He doesn't have some big, it's all about me ego. It's not that at all. He just works hard. Whoever the quarterback is, he just, hey, just give me the ball. Give me a chance to make a play, So, but just love who he is as a person, and which is, to me, is a great testament to his family. And he's been very well raised. He understands how to do things the right way on and off the field. And that's a tremendous thing. He just comes up and shows up every day and works really, really hard. And he's a competitor. So love him. I just think he's continued to say he's just going to keep rising.
This might be kind of an obvious question, but in maybe dealing with sort of the letdown of losing bowl eligibility, the advantage basically of having these 2 trophy games, of it not just being, I recognize every game is important, but there being sort of something tangible that you can sort of put in front of the guys and say, this is what you're fighting for. It's a rivalry. It's a trophy game. There's something we'll be able to hold up and celebrate if we can win, even if obviously maybe some of our longer term goals are off the table.
Yeah, I think there's no question, and I don't set the schedule. You know, the fact that we play Michigan State at this point in the season, again, I think is, definitely advantageous in regards to what you just stated, you know, and our guys have worked extremely hard, and it's a very driven group, very motivated group, and the seniors, you know, want to be able to do everything they can to raise that trophy at the end of the game, and it means a lot to them. And obviously, even this past season, you saw the response a year ago, and it's no different this year, you know, and so we definitely have a lot to play for, and we understand that it's a testament to your character as a person, as a team, and as a program, when you don't allow the circumstances on the outside to dictate your focus, your effort, how you do things on a daily basis, and then eventually how you perform on game day. So a great opportunity in front of us, and we're excited about it.
Yeah, Tom, the defense has had some kind of wild swings this year in terms of like looking really good one week and then the next, you know, falling backwards. Have you been able to kind of trace why? Is it, do you see that difference level in practice? Or, I mean, is it just, you know, I'm curious, what have you seen behind the scenes? Have you been able to kind of predict where this team is going in a given week on defense?
Yeah, I will say this. I didn't see this one coming. I didn't. You know, there's been a couple weeks where I was concerned about our focus maybe collectively going into a certain game. Was not the case this week. Just really hard to pinpoint for sure the reasons for some of the things. I know you had about 5 pass plays that, you know, accounted for 3/4 of their yards, which is crazy. And I think it kind of caused us, even as, you know, and as we called it, as Matt called it, just to, you know, kind of spooky about some calls that we probably shouldn't have abandoned, that broke down on us early, to stay with them. And because I think we needed some of those. And so, but at the same time, man, I don't think there wasn't anything in the week that I saw that, like, man, I was really worried about this, about them not being locked in or focused or being able to make those communication and checks. But I do think it does go back. We keep saying it, but you know, being able to play several different guys, and they got to be able to get in there and make adjustments and be able to, you know, make the checks and do the things we're supposed to do. So, I mean, but it's, once again, it's my responsibility. It's on the coaches. You know, our guys played hard, and they fought and they battled. You know, even defensively, as bad as we played at times, you know, we had some huge stops in the score zone to force field goals. The huge stop at the end of the game to be able to force the punt, to give our offense the ball back, to at least drive down the field with a minute 30 to go and no timeout. So they bowed up in those situations, but obviously, you know, we didn't do a good enough job as coaches. And it's like I said, that's the buck stops here. But the guys practiced hard last week, and I expect them to practice hard again this week. And you're right, the inconsistency is very frustrating. And but it's obviously a focal point for us this week to be able to allow us to be able to play to what we believe is our standard and where we need to play, and we can play. And that's what we got to do.
And I was going to follow up on that when you said frustrating, because you've seen what the defense can be. Does that make it harder each week when you fall back?
Oh yeah, I think there's no doubt. I mean, it's human nature. I mean, if you didn't think they could do it, you know, it's just okay. You know, you just kind of. But when you see, you know, the product that can be put out there on a consistent basis, and when it doesn't happen, especially when you see how well we were playing offensively and on the road, and an opportunity that was so massive in front of us, it's just, you know, really, really, you know, difficult to accept, you know. So, but at the same time, you know, there's a reason for everything, and we got to face it and identify it, you know. So yeah, it is a hard pill to swallow, but you know what, we got to own up to it and move forward.
With Aaron Casey, Saturday being the last time that he'll be playing in Memorial, when you kind of reflect back on his recruiting process to now, what are you kind of most proud of and how far he's come?
You know, I would say just the grit and perseverance that he's displayed, you know, hasn't been easy for him. Didn't just come here and become the guy right away. Took several years. Most guys aren't willing to do that. They're not willing to wait. He's showed tremendous just diligence and being true to himself. He's been very consistent on and off the field. There's never been a guy that's ever caused any issue whatsoever. Even when he's young and wasn't getting to play, just always where he's supposed to be, doing what he's supposed to do, and just growing step by step. It's just been such a neat process to see him just grow and develop gradually over time, and then to be able to play his best football in his final season is just what you want. You want guys to come here and be developed as men and as football players, and that's what he's done. And through all that, he's been consistently taking care of his business in the classroom and representing his family in a first-class way in all that he does. So that, to me, is to see a young man come here and fulfill his full potential, maximize that. It's what you want for your guys. And we had a vision for him as a player when he got here, and he stayed true to that. He stayed with us, and it's neat to see him rewarded for that.
Coach, asking about Andre Carter, kind of in the same light. He's only been here for the 1 year, but in getting to know him and learning his backstory, it seems like he's been a pretty well representation of your program. Just looking back on him this year, his impact, what do you take most from him?
Well, you take a young man like that a year ago we didn't know, and you get to know him through the process. It's a pretty quick process you go through, and you see that you're able to give him an opportunity for something that he wants to be able to do for himself and his future. And then, just being a quality person, just a joy to be around. You sit down with him one-on-one. he has a good heart for people. He cares. He's been through a lot. Life's not been easy for him and his family. And just to see him, choose to be able to just keep going. Even yesterday coming back, after a frustrating situation on Saturday, and just come back, with a smile and realize, hey, it's back to work, just being a pro about things. And that's what you got to be able to do. And we talk so much about, the future of our guys, and they spend such a really small part of their life playing football. And there's going to be so much more beyond the game, and what their identity is as a man, is never what happens on the football field, even though it's easy for that to be the case. And so just those kind of conversations with a guy like that's mature, he's been through a lot in his life, and he sees that part of it, and so at the same time, he wants to also chase after being great on game day. So I think we've helped him grow in those areas and helped him fulfill some of those things, but we want to see him finish out the right way. So proud of bringing a guy like that here that fit with us, represents us in a great way in all that he does, and is going to continue to play hard and finish strong.
I'd like to just start off by congratulating Tracy Fuchs and women's field hockey off to the Final Four. Was fortunate enough to stop down for the second half with my wife and boys yesterday, and man, it was awesome to see the way that team continued to battle and got a big win late. Exciting weekend for all of Northwestern athletics. So, but again, congratulations to Tracy and her team. Really excited for what's ahead for them. In terms of this team, going to sound a little bit like a broken record, but it was great having the guys back in the facility. Had a chance to meet this morning, and evaluate our performance at Wisconsin. Really proud of the way that we went into a hostile environment and attacked. The way that our offense performed, specifically in the first quarter and the first half was critical to our team's success. Keeping our defense off the field against a tempo operation, tempo offense, playing complementary football, and then our ability to close in the second half as a team, specifically in the fourth quarter, starting to flip the field and create some field position was huge. But still things that we need to improve upon. Again, this team has taken it very seriously about finding a way to improve just a little bit each and every day. Challenged them to do that today when they come back in the facility and we shift our focus fully to Purdue. We'll have an opportunity to get back out on the field, this afternoon, this evening, and start that preparation. But Purdue is hot right now, coming off a big win against Minnesota offensively. Operating at a really high level, defensively well coached, some really good personnel. We're gonna have our hands full this Saturday. Excited for the challenge that's ahead.
Coach, seems like the entire roster tweeted out after the game that, and you should remove your interim tag. Do you see any of those posts, and what's your reaction to that support?
Love our team. This is a group that continues to just pull together, and I take that as a sign of I must be doing something right from a standpoint that they feel like they got a head coach that they believe in, and I'm really focused on making sure I'm doing everything in my power to make sure that we're prepared to be at our best for Purdue.
David, now that you're within one win of bowl eligibility, is that something you addressed with your team, kind of put it out there as a mission statement this week?
It's something we addressed, Dave, even prior to Wisconsin, as entering the fourth quarter and of the season. And, we've talked about, leaving no doubt, the opportunity for a bowl game is in our hands. And all Wisconsin was a performance that put us one step closer to achieving an opportunity to extend this season. I think that's the ultimate carrot for this team right now, is understand that we only have 2 guaranteed opportunities left to be with this group, and this group wants to battle to ensure that we get an extra opportunity to extend this season. And our guys know what's on the line, and they also understand that the second we start letting our mind drift too far in that direction, we're not focused on just being at our best for Purdue. But no, we've absolutely talked about that. I think this group is very motivated to extend this season, to continue playing with this group.
Coach, you guys in the summer had a pretty negative perception of the program, but now sitting at 500, 5 wins. What would you say the perception of the program is now in your eyes, and how it's grown in the last few months?
Yeah, I don't know what the perception is, but I know what I see every day out of this group, and I've said this before. You sign of true character. Hard times reveals character. And the way that this group has responded to just a lot of things going on, a lot of people that have been affected, in a lot of different ways. This group has found ways to, stare adversity down, take 100% responsibility on being solutions-based, and just getting to work and caring about one another. And, that's, we've talked about this group having an opportunity to write its own story. They've certainly done a great job of that so far.
Coach, you talked about the field hockey program there. Have you had any conversation with Coach Fuchs about helming a Big Ten program, and then do you see any similarities between the two teams?
Tracy's incredible. She's been an incredible supporter of our team, of myself, and I'll be honest with you. Stopped down a few weeks ago just at the tail end of a game. Yesterday was my first opportunity to really take in, a significant amount of field hockey. And I was just so impressed with their poise, against a team that they had lost to. Their one loss on the season was against Louisville. And for them to go down late in the game and rally, tie it up, and then take the lead late, I saw a group that battled for one another, that was incredibly resilient, and that certainly embodies a lot of things that we hope to embody, within our football program.
Do you have an update on Coco after you left the game on Saturday?
Not anything other than the fact that he's going to be day to day in terms of his ability to practice. We're hopeful that we'll have Coco back for Saturday. I know he's going to do everything in his power to ensure that he's out there, especially on senior day. But it's going to be, something that we're taking day to day.
Do you expect to go back in the lineup at some point?
Yes, absolutely.
And Coach, just speaking on senior day, how important is it for you to see those guys just out there and spend that time with the family?
Yeah. No, it's what it's all about. I think one of the biggest challenges that we'll face as a team, on senior day is just really using that emotion to channel that into focus and being at our best. The emotion is an indication of how much these guys care. The emotion is an indication of how much they've invested. But we need to do a great job of channeling that emotion to ensure that we're, coming out with just being at our best to ensure that we give ourselves the best chance to celebrate a victory with this group. One more opportunity at Ryan Field. We want to make sure that we send these guys out the right way.
Coach, speaking of Ryan Field, the Evanston City Council tonight votes on a new stadium. There's a good chance that this is the last game at Ryan Field for the foreseeable future. Two-part for you. What is your favorite memory of Ryan Field since you've been here? And also, is there extra motivation to leave the stadium for the last time with a win?
Yeah, to the first part of the question, that evening against Minnesota, I don't know if you're ever going to be. I mean, that's a memory that will stick with you the rest of your life if you were there. Just the way that our guys continued to battle and the way that it ended, was really, really special. And I think, really that has been something that this team has drawn from as we've continued to go through the season, just in terms of the belief and the willingness to stay the course as we navigate each and every game. And yeah, there's so much history and tradition in Ryan Field, that it's only fitting that we ensure that we show up and play at our best and send it out the right way. If this is the last game that's going to be played in Ryan Field, the old Ryan Field, I know our guys are motivated to ensure that we do it right the last time.
Have there been any conversations between you and Dr. Gregg since Wisconsin about a contract extension?
There hasn't. What I will say, and I'm very confident in, is that that the people that are involved in that process, it's a critical process, and they're taking the proper steps that they need to take to ensure that the program is led in the right manner moving forward, and. I'm going to continue to put my focus in to ensuring that this team's ready to go play at its best against Purdue. Dr. Gregg has been incredibly supportive of, this team throughout this process and has involved our players in this process, which is something that is a credit to him. And, this is something that, I know is an ongoing process for them that they take very seriously, and I'm going to continue to contribute.